games on VHS tapes, totally, collecting the cards, collecting the magazines. I mean, it like so encapsulated like, you know, uh, that life experience for I think all of us of a certain generation. So
Yeah, kids
that was
kids don't have to do that now, do they?
No, no.
Like
So
it's
I mean, it
all
was.
on YouTube. I'm watching this morning's talk of the NBA playoffs on YouTube. It's just like I don't have to worry about being on when when it's live. It's like I'll find it all later.
yeah. So
My question for you, Adam, was when you were doing the VHS life, did you change the calligraphy or did you do the same printing every time? Because sometimes I would record games, and if it was Bulls Lakers, I'd get a little fancy with the calligraphy, or if it was like Bulls, or if it was Bulls
I
like
mean,
something, I would change it up.
I would get superstitious because when he came back in '95, they didn't win. So then when '96 playoffs started and I'm recording
Yeah.
I was like, well, shit, I can't do it like that. So I would find a different way to like put his points here and the series lead, and then I would do it uniform for the whole season. And then '97 looked different than '98. Oh, I mean, if you really like pause in the opening credits of Meeting Michael, you'll laugh because you'll be like, oh, I see what he did. Okay, I see. Yeah.
well, just the logistics too. Like I know you said that you recorded it through a sports bar feed. Like, so did you have a VHS at the sports bar, or how did you logistically? How did you even do that?
Well, I tried to get every single game of his return in '95, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, all the playoff games were on TV, but all the other ones were not. So, for there was a Bucks game at the end of the '95 season, and I just went to a sports bar and just begged the bartender. I'm like, I have this tape, dude. Can you please just? And they had a whole bunch of screens and yeah. So yeah, it was. And he put it in, hit record. So not that I've ever even watched that tape again, but I do technically have every game from '95 on tape.
Yeah, I mean, Joey, you said you still have a good amount of tapes as well, right? Like, didn't you? Were you saying yesterday, Joey, that like you still had some somewhere in a storage or?
Depends on like what season. Depends on what season we're probably talking about. Or like the year after we won the first title, that '92 season, I definitely recorded almost like half the year. When he returned, I recorded, Bulls Pacers, and I got MJ's back on the VHS with a 4,000 exclamation points, all that stuff. I got the Atlanta game where he hit the game winner. What was that? Maybe like that next week. I don't have the Knicks game. And then, yeah, I mean, I probably have some Bulls magic from that year, that playoff series. I just don't watch that shit anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, when I was making the movie, I actually started doing that again. I started just like, let's put this tape in, let's see what happens. And they still work great. They still looked great.
I mean, I will tell you, like, and obviously, right, like it's so amazing, like that era was still obviously standard def and all that so forth. But like the video quality, especially from your camcorder, I don't know if you like did any kind of enhancement, but that held up really well.
Well,
like,
what I did specifically with that was I took an S video. I was able to get a digital 8 camera that had an S video out, which, I mean, we're getting really nerdy when it comes to how video stuff works.
Sure. Yeah.
I took that, and then I took this old cassette, went S video to a digital 8. Once I got it to digital 8, that's just ones and zeros. You know what I mean? So it was as clean as it could. It was as clean as it could possibly be.
Yeah, I mean, it did not look bad at all. It did not look like it was 20-year-old footage.
25-year old footage.
25 years old.
But honestly, even that, I think it has to do with that silly black and white thing I did, man. That made it. That made it timeless. It just, it suddenly looks like a different time. So I'm definitely glad.
I just that whole story. I mean, everything. Just being 19 years old and getting a DJ gig at 19 for like an actual like radio affiliate, and just the fact how that all came to be was.
And then,
really
of course,
cool story,
all the completely illegal things that I did that my kids caught me on. Like, why would you do that?
Well,
why would you take his
that
towel?
was something. Listen. Here's the bottom line with that. It's something we'll touch on in the pod. But I you know what? At 19 years old, who amongst any of us at 19 would have done every single one of us? And hey, you walked away with a signed Michael Jordan jersey. I mean, listen, at least at 19, I would have risked getting fired to have Michael sign a jersey.
Well,
for
and
me.
I think what is most funny is my kids couldn't even understand why his towel was important. And
exactly, but yeah,
boy, does everybody else my age know. All my friends are like, "You have the? Can I see it?" I mean, it's really funny, but to my kids, nobody's that famous. So, like, fame is different now. It's
100%, 100%.
In a generation where there were like these unicorn celebrities, right? And now
Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, like there were these things bigger than life that they just doesn't work now.
I mean, Mike Tyson for half a second.
Right.
There were some singular celebrities in the 90s, OJ. But you know what I mean? Like,
oh, totally.
You couldn't go anywhere without.
And and here's the bottom line: you fully admit to your kids, like, yeah, this was weird. This might have been definitely unprofessional. So it's like you are acknowledging it. So it's not like you were like, no, this was totally appropriate. It's like you acknowledged it at multiple occasions throughout the doc.
I think that's why in hindsight, that's why I'm glad I waited. It all just kind of worked out. Pandemic, let's make a movie in my attic. Okay. You know what I mean? And the seeing it through my eyes as a kid, and then actual kids. It's the only time it really works, because now we get to feel stupid as middle-aged men looking back, and then through their eyes you feel really weird because you're like, wow, I was kind of creepy. I totally took that dude.
Like I said, I guarantee there's not any sports fans, much less every Bulls fan or Michael Jordan fan, who they would have done the exact same thing. I mean, I was literally thinking, I would have probably asked Michael for an autograph too after I finished like the interview session. I would have been like, hey, and to your point, even in the video, you weren't the only one. You weren't the only one who was doing it that day. So it's like we all, there's no way any Michael Jordan fan, Bulls fan, sports fan in that at 19 wouldn't have done that. We all would have.
I agree. But again, only people of a certain age. I still don't think there are celebrities to that level anymore that are on. They're selling McDonald's, Gatorade. They're on. I mean, they're just everywhere. And there's only so many. Without social media, everything got splintered. The internet splintered everything. There's no.
For sure.
There's just no pop culture
or like borderline a consensus of someone of that notoriety. Not even like acceptance of just notoriety. I think I'm trying to think like. What was it? Maybe like you got like a Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Beyonce of the last 10, 12 years. Maybe that's the closest that we get to like, at least we can all say.
We can all agree. Know. Yeah. Man, that's a big question. God, is there anybody? You're probably right. Beyonce. LeBron. The second LeBron got political, it just split everybody in half. And God bless him for that. Honestly, it's why I give so much respect to him over Jordan about that, because Jordan really did.
We'll talk about retirement Jordan, and that is one of the disappearing act of voice that we all care about so much. I think LeBron's setting himself up to not make, I don't know if the mistake is the right word, but not make that course when he's done.
Also, in order for Jordan to be everything that he was, he had to be kind of apolitical and everything, and that gave LeBron the ability to have a voice, right? Yeah. He made the NBA what it was, dude. So, I go back and forth on that. I remember getting in arguments about that in the 90s on the radio while he was playing. I totally remember people saying, they were talking about Muhammad Ali and why isn't Jordan doing anything to help? He's so huge. And that explains it. I think it was just a time thing. I think he regrets some of it too. You can tell definitely now. Hey, look who we got.
Bye. How are you?
What's up, guys?
Hey, thank you so much for joining us. This is Adam. He was the filmmaker for the Meeting Michael doc.
What's up, Adam?
Joey is the namesake of the podcast, and then I'm just this is something like me and Joey came up with this idea. I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago now at this point, Joey. So we've been kind of doing this for a little bit now, and I know you're friends with Dylan, and so. I recently we just played golf last week, so
nice.
Yeah, so we played golf and got some lunch, and he was. Do you know Travis? Are you friends
Yeah,
with? I'm assuming you know
I
Travis.
went to
So,
high school with both of those guys. So
oh, okay, okay, great. So yeah, he was he was driving around in Travis's Tesla. So like when I saw him, like when did you upgrade to a Tesla? He's like, this is
baller.
Travis's car. This is Travis's car. So it was
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he's still driving around in a shitty Honda Fit or something, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll let Joey kind of talk about the kind of the practical stuff in terms of the record. But real quick, I would just make sure so that way we're not putting you on the spot because during the Q&A, obviously me and Joey for both you and Adam will have a bunch of questions. How just so we don't put you on the spot where you have to feel like you have to disregard us, like how much or not are you at liberty to talk about kind of the behind the scenes stuff? Because if you aren't, that's totally fine, and we won't ask you any kind
No,
of the behind the scenes stuff.
I think I'm happy to talk about as much as I think
Okay.
is interesting. And
Yeah.
anything that I probably shouldn't talk about, I won't. So
100%. But in general, it's okay to ask him. And then obviously you can frame it however you want. But I just want to make sure, and especially because I'm assuming there might have been some kind of NDA with Michael that you had to sign or something to some effect, right? Or,
at this point, I don't.
okay.
There's nothing that I'm going to say that's going to be
Okay. Cool.
super
Okay.
groundbreaking or
Yeah.
earth shattering.
Yeah.
So
Great.
yeah,
Great. So
so I
I
appreciate it.
just wanted to, yeah, because I don't want it to be like, I can't talk about it. And then it'd be like really awkward. So,
Yeah, no,
um,
I think I've seen other people talking about anything that I would talk about already. So I think we're good.
perfect. So, Joey, I'll let you kind of talk about the nuts and bolts and then we'll get started shortly.
Okay, gentlemen. Just do a quick check through real quick. Adam Contras, right? Abai Sofsky, correct?
Perfect.
Great. I want to get those pronunciations correct because my last name is also not fun to pronounce either. Um, Dude, guys, super straightforward. We're gonna have a great time. I mean, I'm gonna try and pace this thing as best I can. I could honestly do this for 3 hours. I'm not going to make it like that. You know what I mean? We want to make this a 60 to 80 minute thing. So if I do feel like I'm kind of breezing through some stuff, it's not because I'm bored or anything. I'm just trying to keep a nice pace to it. But good thing to remember for you guys, just in terms of the audio edit in the end, everyone's going to get equal time. Everyone's going to get a different opportunity to kind of what we'll call front a particular topic or a seed or whatever, anything like that. If you feel like at any point, like you want to jump in on a conversation or something, you got something you want to add, please do it. Just throw up your finger real quick, almost like in school. Just throw your hand up. Once the guy's done talking, I'll just tag you in. We can always cut out my tag. It just really helps with audio quality out a whole bunch, which would be really great. The other one too, as well, is so typically, like you'll kind of notice there's some big ones on here. And as you notice, there's probably a couple that we have a pretty good feeling are probably going to make it to the end. As mentioned in Mike's email, like just because in that first round we don't talk a lot about the first three-peat, don't be like, oh man, we haven't gotten to it, because if it moves on, we're going to really dig into it as it gets to the final four and the championship. And that's when we really get an opportunity to sink our teeth into it. The other one also too, as well, is, let's just say, 90 to 93 versus UNC Jordan. UNC Jordan gets knocked out, and we get through it, and you go, oh shit, man, I had a couple of nuggets or some stats that I looked up that I didn't get a chance to say yet. We can do a quick little, cleaning house real quick and throw in a couple of nuggets, because obviously if you guys took the time to look up the research or something cool about it that we didn't get into the conversation, we do want to get that in there. We are going to kind of, go for it.
I did not look up UNC stats, so I can tell you this right now.
I didn't know, and that's the thing. It does not have to be this is definitely not a stats-driven conversation. So this is, and to that point also, obviously it's one person's life, so there's gonna be a lot of overlap. So don't feel like, you can't, if you feel like, let's say if we're talking to your point, talking about UNC Jordan, and then you kind of there's something about like his rookie or something, there's definitely feel free to like interweave between. Don't feel like I can only talk about UNC Jordan when feel free to interweave different things.
We don't have to like get all crazy about the particulars of all this, like the way
exactly
these eras. We don't have to kind of get into like, well, this thing deserves into that era. Like the way that we call it is just going to be kind of the way that we call it. We can all sort of talk about it, in just in a whatever way. And then we will do an honorable mentions towards the end. So baseball Jordan crosses a couple of these eras. Maybe we'll throw that in there just a tiny little bit. And then what was the final one Yeah, as we already mentioned too, as well, in between a couple of these rounds, we do want to kind of just do a quick little Q&A with you guys. Obviously, like, we're happy to have you guys on for your expertise about Jordan, but we also want the listeners to know about some of the successes and the things that you guys are proud about in your own personal lives, in your own careers as well. We definitely want to get that in there as well. And I think that's it, Mike. I think that's it,
Yeah.
dude.
No, yeah, that covers it all. So, I mean, if you guys are ready to roll, Joey, you're going to start with a promo read, right?
So
So,
I got to do
okay.
an ad read at the top. We're going to do a whole intro, bring you guys in. So we're going to press record, and then you're going to have to hang tight for about 60 seconds, but then we're going to bring in.
We
And then
don't have
Adam,
to
real
record
quick.
anything on our end, right?
No, we
You
just,
didn't
it's pretty
mention that,
simple.
right?
We just do
Alright,
the
cool.
Zoom audio. Adam, on your end, because I know you said you kind of want to record for your vlog. Are you good to go on your
We're
end?
good to go,
or
man.
You, okay, great. I'm going to start the record here, Joey, and then whenever you're ready, I will let you begin. But recording
This meeting is being recorded.
now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another special episode of Believe in Betting Chicago. My name is Joey Christopoulos. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. And look, BetOnline, it's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. BetOnline has you covered for all the news, scores, and odds. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's free to sign up. So what are you waiting for? Head to the website right now, betonline.ag. Use your mobile device to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That is only a BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming into the pod. It is another edition of Bracketology, a very special one because today's category is perhaps one of my favorite categories of all time. It is Michael Jordan eras. We have 8 strong seeds lined up tournament style, and today we will crown a champion. Creator and resident guest, Hoops Honcho, and today's referee for today's events, it is Mike Joy. Mike, tell us how we're going to play.
Well, Joey, first of all, it's crazy to think that it's been almost 20 years since Michael Jordan retired in 2003. So the fact that he's still as relevant today, both in sports and pop culture as he ever was, that's really amazing. And, you know, we do have a couple of anniversaries. It was recently The Last Dance's finale, 1-year anniversary. It was May 18th, May 17th. And then this upcoming July, it's the 25th anniversary of Space Jam. So, I mean, what better way to bring it back to our sports roots than to dedicate a bracket to Michael Jordan?
Space Jam, the pinnacle of Michael Jordan's career. Fight me on it now, but no, that's what we're here to do today. So let's bring in our wonderful guest panel. We're so excited to have both of them on. First, let's bring him on. He is a filmmaker and also the documentary director of the film Meeting Michael. It's Adam Contras. Hello, Adam.
Hello! Happy to be here, man.
Super happy to have you as well. Up again, next on our next part of the panel, filmmaker and Emmy-nominated editor of ESPN's The Last Dance. Have you heard of it? I think we have. It's Abai Sofsky. Hello, Abai.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Congratulations on that little piece of work, my friend. I haven't watched that 5,000 or 6,000 times. Ladies and gentlemen, before Mike gets into our seeds, I just got to tell you, this thing is amazing. We're going to do the best we can to not make it 3 hours because I talked about that in the pre-pod. I could talk about this all day long, but let's just get into it, Mike. It is time to unveil our top 8 seeds of Michael Jordan eras, and then we are going to begin our tournament to crown a champion.
So, first of all, this is obviously an abstract thought experiment, since unlike our previous episodes, right, Joey, we are literally judging installments of one person's life. So there's going to be a lot of overlap between the various eras that represent Michael's life and career. But with that being said, here is our bracket and seeds based on the combined scores that the 4 of us independently ranked prior to the record. So our number 8 seed is the University of North Carolina Jordan. Our number 7 seed is the Washington Wizards Jordan. Our number 6 seed is retirement era Jordan, which covers anything he accomplished after he hung up his sneakers. Our number 5 seed is media mogul Jordan. Now, this pertains to Michael's off-court endeavors and pop culture significance. Our number 4 seed is the Olympic era Jordan. Our number 3 seed is rookie Jordan, but this era also includes anything that Michael accomplished on the court prior to winning a championship. Our number 2 seed is Michael's second three-peat era, and our number 1 seed is the first three-peat era of Michael Jordan's career. So with that, I'm going to throw it back over to you, Joey.
The seeds are in. The tournament is set. The ball is up in the air. It is time to get it going, ladies and gentlemen. And what better way to start than the number 1 seed, the first three-peat versus the number 8 seed, UNC Michael Jordan. Gentlemen, we're going to just start here where, you know, this looks like this could be a little bit of a David versus Goliath situation because I don't think anyone ever in my life has said, you know, Michael Jordan after college, it was all downhill from there. You do know that, right? I don't think anyone's going to be guilty of saying that. But let's just start right here. Abai, let's just start with you, my friend. When you think of UNC Jordan, what do you think about? And let's just get this roundtable started of this 8 seed versus the number 1 seed.
Okay, I have to start by saying I am a diehard Knicks fan. I got my New York Knicks jersey on, so I might throw some wrenches into this bracket. So I'll try.
You're going to talk against Brooklyn's finest? Is that what you're going to do right now?
I might have to. I might have been. I'm definitely the only person on this podcast who hated Michael Jordan for decades. So consider this when I give my my answers. UNC Jordan, I do admire UNC Jordan. I like the fact and I like his respect and admiration for Dean Smith. I like that. It feels like the best players love to be coached, and to this day, he has nothing but nice things to say about Dean Smith. He loves him. So I like UNC Jordan. As someone who doesn't like a lot of Jordan eras, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a great program, legendary coach, legendary player. Adam, let's throw it to you real quick. What's so fascinating, what makes Michael Jordan so singular is a lot of times you try and find where does the story begin? Where does the greatness and the legend begin? It starts for Michael Jordan pretty much the very first second that he gets into the public eye, and that is a pretty special beginning. Just talk about Michael Jordan and UNC and what you remember and how you kind of relate to his career and what you think of him from UNC.
There are similarities with when he won his first championship in the NBA and the shot at UNC. And it's that there were these 2 moments when he was doubted that the second he did that, the rest of his life changed. And I think that's what we think of when we think of the UNC Michael, is that until that ball went through that hoop, right? Who was he? And then what was he after? And it's such a boom. And then, I mean, and same with the first NBA championship. Who was he before that? He couldn't wait. He's great, but and then boom, he became. They were page turner moments that just completely shifted. That's why there's 8 versions of him in this bracket, right? That shot was what turned the page and made it even possible. That's how I've always thought of it.
And what's even more fun, so my wife was making the graphics for this episode when we release it, and she's like, well, what should I be looking up? And I at one point just kind of threw out her, for 98 Jordan, I was like, hey, just look up the shot. Shot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's 4 of them? Yeah, this is the first one. This is the first one of a franchise that then gets launched. It's like in Hollywood when all of a sudden Jordan makes a shot against UNC, and then everyone in Hollywood's like, we should make more of these for the next 20 years. And
they did.
Yeah, and they did. Mike, hop in there, my friend, because I know you got some stats. You did a little stat work on UNC here. It might be time to bring it out.
Well, here's the thing. Even before we kind of get into UNC Jordan, I definitely want to talk about Michael's high school career, right? Because forever there's kind of been this urban myth that he got cut from the high school team, and no. The truth is, yes, as a sophomore he got cut from the varsity team, but he still was placed on the junior varsity team. So I mean, making JV as a sophomore, especially at that age, that time frame when there wasn't AAU basketball, there wasn't these traveling teams, there wasn't kind of these prep rankings. I mean, that was a pretty big accomplishment. And in doing the research, he probably shouldn't have made the team. They had 11 returning seniors. At that point in his life, he was only 5'9", and of those returning seniors, 8 of them were guards. And, he famously ragged on, I think his name was Leon Smith, that got picked over him. Leon Smith was 6'9" as a sophomore. And here's the thing about Leon Smith. He played college. He played professionally in Europe. So that wasn't an oversight. That wasn't a bad selection. So, first of all, we have to talk about that. But then come Michael's senior year, I did not realize this, but Michael averaged a triple-double his senior year in high school. So that's pretty impressive. But yeah, you guys both nailed it. The idea that all legends have to begin somewhere. And that UNC shot was the beginning of a legend. And here's the thing. I mean, I don't think it would be the case for Michael Jordan, as what we have now learned about his psyche for both good and bad. But, for a lot of players, had he missed that shot, it could have been this sliding doors thing where who knows what would have happened to his career, his psyche, or at least for other players, their psyche had they missed that shot. What we know of Michael, it probably would have only driven him even harder, right? And finally, I just think of iconic things. When we think of iconic Jordan, a lot of times it's that that rookie Jordan kind of in his like still with the hair, with the necklace, the Chicago in cursive on the jersey. But I think almost iconic as that is Michael in that Tar Heel blue. Like anytime you see Michael in his Tar Heel blue, that's a cool picture. That's a cool shot. So I don't know. I don't think this is as far fetched, or I don't think it's a big of a gap between the two eras as possible. Especially because we have the second three-peat in store. So there are some things that like I could see it going not as lopsided as you guys think.
Adam, hop back in.
You were saying, what if somebody had missed that shot, right? Well, how many people have made those shots, and that's all we ever heard from them? So he made that shot and was given this opportunity to have all this press, to become something, and then he lived up to it. And I think that is what UNC Jordan means to me the most, which is taking an opportunity, making it, and then just pushing it beyond what anybody had done. And he did that all these steps in his year. How many people like Shaq would win one championship and then be like, nah, I'm good. Jordan went and went and went, and he pushed it and pushed it and pushed. But that UNC shot is he pushing an opportunity to the furthest possible extent, which he did his whole career.
Yeah, and that's a perfect cocktail, right? Because the 80s was Magic versus Bird at the time, right? And those guys were going at it, and obviously you had the Pistons in the late 80s, but I mean, you had that cocktail mixed with Jordan's determination, and that created the more, need it. And the only thing I'll really say about the North Carolina era Jordan is obviously he wore the shorts under his, his Bulls shorts for many years, which was always kind of like a cool, I don't know, like a down home kind of thing, which always made Jordan maybe a little bit more endearing early on in his career. And honestly, this is his only indie album, right? This is the only time when there were coaches that were kind of split on the greatness of Jordan. I think no one would dispute that everyone thought that he was going to be good right now. And Abai, you can understand this with like Patrick Ewing, right? Like when he came out of Georgetown, consensus, good, most thought great. And he actually fulfilled that, which is such an interesting thing. With Jordan, I think people were kind of split on how great exactly he was going to be, which is why that story of why, the Blazers took Sam Bowie, because we've already got a scorer named Drexler. They just looked at Jordan as a scorer, not a transcendent player. And this is one of those more innocent times. And that's kind of just how I sort of think about it. Abai, just hop in real quick on the whole concept of, I just think about with Jordan, I think about with LeBron. Is it more fulfilling to watch a guy who's told that he's can't miss fulfill his destiny, or is it more painful to watch a guy who you think is can't miss be a bust? And I'm not throwing Obi Toppin out there. I'm not throwing his name out there. But
it's early, man. It's early.
I know.
No, I would say I actually imagine that it would be harder to fulfill when you've got so much. The expectations are so high. So what LeBron does and what Mike, to me, that's got to be the hardest thing in the world. I would much rather come in as an underdog who's like fighting his way up than when the expectations are through the roof.
Yeah, I mean that's the Derrick Rose question too here in Chicago, where it's more of like an ethereal conversation of did Rose meet expectations, right? Because a lot of people thought championships, he got hurt, but we still love him deeply. It's kind of a harder conversation, and it was really hard to live up to those expectations. And Jordan obviously did it tenfold. Mike, hop in.
Well, Abai too. I'm curious. I mean, this is all hindsight, right? But correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Patrick Ewing was a freshman on that Georgetown team that Michael hit the shot over, right? So I think he was a freshman. So could that already have been kind of in hindsight one of those things where you're like, oh, the Patrick Michael thing had already started? So.
Well, I think looking at the footage that I saw, there was a decent amount of behind the scenes stuff in there, obviously. Michael seemed to get the most joy from taunting Ewing. Like even every interaction they have with each other, Michael's just talking shit on Ewing. In like 1998, they're in the All-Star locker room. Michael sees Ewing and brings up the Georgetown UNC. He brings up that game. Like it's unbelievable how long that and at the forefront of Jordan's psyche, it was like, talk shit on Patrick Ewing every chance I get.
That's funny you're bringing that up, because that's another reason why you don't want to be a can't miss prospect in the 80s or 90s, because you just made Jordan's fucking list. You know what I'm saying? Like that's probably the last thing that you want to do. And that, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, man, we're going to talk about some of those Knicks Bulls battles, and I think in some preceding rounds here. But let's just get this out of the way, guys. You notice we didn't even talk about the first three-peat, and I think there's a good reason why. We wanted to give the UNC Jordan the credit that it's due, but let's do a quick vote. Adam, my friend, where are you going? UNC or first three-peat? First three-peat, a bye. First three-peat or UNC Jordan?
Yeah, we'll give it the first three-peat.
It's 2-0. Mike, close us out. Are we looking at a sweep
listen,
here?
Yeah, listen, there's no point in trying to be contrarian. I love UNC Jordan, but how can you vote that against, the first three-peat Jordan? So yes, first three-peat Jordan for me as well.
And we have our first winner here. Looks like they covered the spread, which I think was about 20.5 points in this game. It was an easy walk to the victory. Looks like first three-peat Jordan's going to be moving on. Let's hit our second round real quick. Let's take it a little bit. I think we're going to go in a bit of a different direction here. I'm going to go to the 4-5 seed because this one's really interesting to me. And this is going to add to some really lively conversation. The number 4 seed is Olympic Jordan versus number 5 Media Mogul Jordan. Now, for those that are asking what's Media Mogul Jordan, just think of every time that you've seen him on a commercial, a movie poster, anything along those lines. This is going to pretty much fit into that category right here. Adam, my friend, get us started here. 4 versus 5. Which way are you leaning right now? And, which side of this has you most intrigued?
I was not thinking of the commercials when I first saw that. That changes everything in my head. Yes, that would push me more towards. I mean, Jordan, Gatorade, McDonald's, like that whole thing that I try to explain to kids now, and they're like, "Who cares?" So he sold hamburgers. I'm like, "You don't get it, dude. You don't understand what Be Like Mike was. You don't understand how big that was." And how he just redefined what a sports athlete could do to sell stuff. It was otherworldly. I think that goes over the Olympic Jordan only because there were other people on those teams. When I think of Olympic Jordan, I think about the Dream Team. I mean, my goodness, there's no way not to think about the amazing collection and what that meant. Yeah, if I'd say Media Mogul Jordan is higher up on my list as just imprinted in my brain, who he is or the best of who he is. I would have to say that.
There's intensity there with the Media Mogul Jordan for sure. Adam's bringing up a great point. Just talk about like what the Dream Team meant to you, because to Adam's point, it's so incredible that it is about the collection, right? It was never Michael Jordan's team or Magic Johnson's team or whatever. And that is kind of the first time where Jordan is not maybe necessarily the headliner, but more of the ensemble. So just talk about what the Dream Team was like for you, growing up. Obviously, Patrick Ewing was on that team, and it was an incredible summer watching them.
Yeah, well, for me personally, this is the only time I ever rooted for Michael Jordan. He was always the enemy. Like, I hate Michael Jordan. He's killing me. Like, and I imagine it was the same for everyone else in the country outside of Chicago. Just like, fucking Michael Jordan, always taking, killing it. So I have, I love Olympic Jordan. He's the only Jordan that I love, and I don't, everyone in the whole country loved Jordan, maybe or loved the Dream Team, except maybe Isaiah Thomas. He might be the only person who didn't like the Dream Team. But yeah, it was like such a big part in New York. Everyone loved the Dream Team. Everyone was wearing Dream Team jackets. All the had all the stuff. It was just so much fun.
Mike, hop in. Olympic Jordan versus Media Mogul Jordan here. There's a lot to unpack.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing to me is like, a lot of these things we have to think about like the overall global impact. So specifically, yeah, we can talk about Olympic Jordan. I mean, he was the singular talent on that 84 team, led the team with 17 points a game. That 92 team, I mean, they won by an average of 40 points against the best players in the world, and they won by an average of 43 points. But especially come the 92 team, it's the global impact, because you have to remember that there was an era where prior to that 92-ish year, there were only a handful of Euros in the league. We have names like Vladi, we have Drazen Petrovic, Sarunas Marcelonis, but it was an oddity to have a Euro in the NBA. And so I think that 92 team really brought this global exposure to the NBA specifically, because basketball is popular all throughout the world, but it was a regional game. It was very much contained to the countries that they were playing their respective leagues in. I think that 92 team just made it like, kind of this one global league, self-contained to the NBA. So with that being said, like, can you imagine the NBA today without the likes of like a Dirk Nowitzki, Luka Doncic, all these guys like Nikola Jokic? I mean, I cannot Giannis, right? Like every team today has 2-3 Euros on their team, and there's definitely a part of that that can be attributed to the globalization that happened via the Dream Team come '92. So again, it's like not only just the direct impact, but like the overarching impact that things that Michael is involved with that continue to kind of just have this like mega influence, like socially even, right? Like I cannot imagine the NBA today without a strong Euro presence like it has.
Yeah, it blew my mind as a young little hoops head. You think of, the Avengers or the comic book ensemble get-togethers, and it was that like times 12. And you're bringing up some great points that are very true, Mike. But I got a great counter for you. You know what else was a huge influence on people overseas? Is it the shoes? Like Mike, I like to be like Mike. Off the backboard, off the corridor, nothing but you know what I mean? Like honestly, like that's what when you really start to dig into it. And look, like I grew up a little Michael Jordan psycho. I got the Dream Team jersey on right now. Underneath is still an original back-to-back Bulls championship that is like honestly like on its like last legs. And really, that's what it was, right? It was I'd wake up in my Michael Jordan sleeping bag. I'd turn on the TV and he's drinking Gatorade. I'd go downstairs. I'd put on Michael Jordan's Playground. I'd come back. I'd maybe have a McJordan special for dinner. I mean, he was just the dude was just everywhere. And Mike, you did such a great job of bringing media mogul Jordan into this seat because it's so important to talk about. And this is kind of a dark horse in my opinion. Adam, hop in.
Yeah. What you're describing about the Dream Team, I don't think happens the same way without media mogul Jordan. I think what he did, starting with the shoes, leading through, kind of dragged all of those people on the Dream Teams even higher, right? So, I mean, Larry Bird's in that off the wall. I mean, he took the NBA to such a level. He was the leader of that. So there's a reason why when they were going, when they're in Spain and you look up and you see him, it's because media mogul Jordan he was all over the world. He was selling McDonald's all over the world. That made the Dream Team that much bigger. So I still go back to the idea that without media mogul Jordan, Olympic Jordan just is not as huge. It kind of mixes together to me. It's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
You have
also
Grandmama, and then you have we've already brought him up, but Patrick Ewing's an actor now in the movie Space Jam. You know what I mean?
Right.
It really opens up this universe of basketball that I don't really think any sport could really probably hang their hat on.
It's why there was
baseball struggling at this point. You know what I mean? America's pastime. Mike, hop in.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys mentioned it with Space Jam as well, right? And we talked about it in the beginning. It's the 25th anniversary, and to this day, it's still the #1 grossing basketball movie of all time. Like everything Michael touched in his career was literally gold. The only final thing I will have to say, just as a side note on the Olympics, which is neither here nor there, I'm just happy that the Olympics happened after the '84 draft because obviously it's the whole lore of like Michael was picked third, Sam Bowie was picked number 2 before Jordan because Portland they had Clyde Drexler, we didn't need another shooting guard. But I will say this: had that Olympics occurred prior to the draft, I don't know because he now has cemented his place as like now he's dominating globally, and at that point you would think that Portland to some degree would have had to have been like yeah, we may need to consider this guy. So I am just very happy that the '84 Olympics happened after the '84 draft as opposed to prior, because that may have changed Portland's mentality on who they should have drafted.
Well, and to throw Olympic Jordan a bone real quick, we're going to vote in just a second here, kind of see maybe how this is perhaps trending. But the funny thing is he did win 2 gold medals, right? And as much as we want to talk about Dream Team goatee Jordan, which is the only Jordan that Abai likes, is goatee Jordan only. It's like Bizarro Jordan for most of us. But the first one is, as you mentioned, Mike, is like that summer. That's the old wives' tale, right? Of Bobby Knight coming out of that being like, this guy right here is going to change the game. And his progression as a player was just so accelerated at that time. And that whole Bobby Knight like kind of stamp of approval would he have been a Chicago Bull? I'm not too sure about that, but it is time to get a vote in here. It's the 4 or 5 seed. 2 great seeds. Let's see where it goes. Mike, vote first, my friend. What do you got? Media Mogul Jordan or Olympic Jordan?
Again, this one is close, and I really love Olympic era Jordan, but again, as you guys were mentioning, just the overall media presence and impact of Media Mogul Jordan, it has to be that for my vote.
Where are you leaning right now at this time? Olympic Jordan versus Media Mogul Jordan.
This one's easy for me. It's Olympic Jordan.
Ooh.
And because real quick, right? Like, what was your take when you saw him in every third commercial growing up? I mean, you want to hate on the guy. Was it an exhaustion or was it an anger? You know what I mean? Like, was it enough already, or was it I hate this guy?
It was a hatred. Like Knicks fans hated Michael Jordan. I mean, but even like does like his sneakers fall into Media Mogul Jordan?
100%.
I loved Michael Jordan sneakers. I was like, these sneakers are so good. I couldn't afford them; they were so expensive. So I think there's also a couple things that you could criticize Michael along the way. Maybe that's not capitalist Michael. There's some criticisms that I think could be thrown at him. So considering that, and considering that it's the only time I loved Michael Jordan, and a lot of the rest of the country loved Michael Jordan, I'm going with Olympic Jordan.
We're tied at 1. Adam, my friend, hop in. Where are you leaning?
Well, I'll be able to take this objectively in the right direction because I don't have my personal feelings on, I specifically hated that he knocked out my teams. Obviously, Media Mogul Jordan to me, but it is really close because I think those are both. They're almost the same thing. I know that's not how we designed this, bracket wise, but the reason he was a worldwide figure in the Olympics and a worldwide figure, I mean, it's all the same thing. It was his ability to be this spokesman for looking cool doing anything. Looking cool wearing a pair of shoes. Looking cool eating some French fries. Looking, you know what I mean? Drinking Gatorade. He just made everybody feel like they were cool. It's almost the same thing. But yeah, Media Mogul. It's a 5-4 upset.
Yeah, he had that like windbreaker that when you get the Wheaties box, then you would try and get proof of purchase, and then you'd get it, and it was like literally like paper mache, and you're like, oh man, this is kind of a piece of shit.
Right.
I'm going with Media Mogul Jordan here too as well. But real quick, just out of fun, I cracked up a couple of stats here. I just remember watching the Dream Team and being like, oh man, Mike's not really caring. Mike's just here having fun. MJ is, he's not really doing a whole lot. Oh no, contrary, you look it up, and he led the team in minutes. He led the team in shots. He was second in scoring with 14.9 points a game. He set an Olympic record with 12 assists versus Germany. He had 8 steals versus Angola and Croatia. Just some other fun stuff on there. Like, Scotty led the team with 5.9 assists, but Magic Johnson probably would have led the team per his 36 minutes. Jordan also led the team in turnovers too. That one's for you, Abai. Just throwing that one out there. So he was into it. It wasn't like he was just there kind of showing up and just kind of deferring. He was still trying there to be the alpha dog. And as we all remember in The Last Dance, the series that you worked on, Abai, and edited, those Dream Team practices were absolutely epic. We're moving on. Media Mogul wins. They're moving on to the next round. Before we get to the next round, though, I think this is a perfect opportunity to talk to you about. I just really want to hear about, your experience, not just working on The Last Dance, but like, how did the project come along? Any fun stories along the way? Because, I know you're watching a lot of Michael Jordan, but you're also just watching a lot of NBA in the 90s. And I think all 4 of us can agree that is just such a special, special time in our sports history and when we were growing up.
Yeah, well, the reason I got involved was because there was a couple of other editors who had met with the director about working on the project, and for whatever reason, they couldn't work on the project, which I'm sure now they regret. But they were a few people were like, "Oh, you got to talk to Abai. This guy's an editor who loves '90s basketball. He's perfect for this job." So in my mind, I had people. I already knew about the project, and I knew about this footage from this from years ago. It's been this folk legend of this footage. So eventually, I got in touch with, they got in touch with me, and I went for the interview to meet with the director and meet with the producers, and they had on the board all the stories that they wanted to talk about, and I was like, man, I am the only person that you're going to meet that's an editor, a documentary editor in New York who cares about everything on this board and like wants to just talk about everything. So when I got in there and when I got the job and I started looking through the footage, I was just like, I am so lucky to be watching this footage that everyone that diehard basketball fans know about. So it was just as cool as you would imagine it or think it would be. It was just awesome.
Adam, hop in.
But did you ever mention in the interview, oh, I hate Michael Jordan? Did you throw that out there?
Well, I did, of course. Yeah, I think what I pitched this as a positive thing in that I would be able to have some perspective to some degree. We didn't want to make a Michael Jordan puff piece. We didn't want to make just talking about all his achievements and that's it. I think also I understand the impact he had more than most people. There's not many people who cried because of Michael Jordan. So I really understood how important this guy was. That was how I pitched it, anyways.
Well, and let me ask you this, because not to like keep like drilling in on the hate or whatever, but like, I hated the Knicks, man. You know what I mean? Like, but here, let me ask you this though, and I hope you feel the same way. I got so excited to play the Knicks, man. Like I don't know if were you excited to play Jordan, or did you dread playing Jordan? Because for us it was all about like going head to head. You know what I mean?
No, you're excited to play Jordan. That's the thing, you guys. I think also maybe when Jordan started winning, when he had once you win, I think it changes everything. It takes the edge off. Like, oh, even if Jordan doesn't win his 5th championship, you're going to be fine. The Knicks never won anything, and we all felt like it was because of Michael Jordan. So there was no like, oh, we're losing to the Bulls, but it's fun watching the best player ever. It was just like, for me and my friends and my family, it was just complete hatred. We don't want to play the Bulls. We hate Michael Jordan. This is how much I hated Michael Jordan. I think it stands to this day. There's in the interview, and I think this is a well-known fact, it didn't make it in the cut, but Jordan talks about during his contract disputes with Jerry Krause, he said at one point, if they didn't give me the money I wanted, I was fine going to the Knicks. Like I was ready to go to the Knicks for the league minimum, because as I'm sure as a fuck you to Krause or
big time.
I think my hatred of Michael was so deep that if he came to the Knicks, I don't know if I would have liked it. Like I wanted to beat Michael. I didn't want to have him come to the Knicks. That might be the stupidest thing to say, but I hated him so much that the thought of him being on the Knicks is disgusting.
And look, the only reason I think you would have loved that, because I think we're kind of in the same boat as the Chicagoans. Like, we despise the Detroit Pistons, right? But then as soon as Dennis joined the team, it was like, oh my God, like Dennis is one of our favorite players. The one question I had, well, not even necessarily a question, but I think also we have to remember that the Last Stand series dropped right in the beginning of the pandemic, right? Like when we did not know what was going on in this world. We did not know what the future held. So I think, first of all, I thank you for being part of a team that literally kept this country sane for that 5-week stretch that it aired. That was appointment watching, which in this day of like streaming media and so forth, that's not a thing anymore. Appointment watching is not a thing anymore. And The Last Dance was. So my question for you is just, well, I have 2 questions. One, because I know you guys upped the release dates. So like how much of the episodes were still unfinished, especially, and how hard was that working remotely? And then the other part of my question is more of a broader question in terms of just, has it sunk into you yet, like literally the cultural impact this series had to the world this last year? It really is like a very significant pop culture a series that's been probably as influential as any series in the last decade. So I'm curious your thoughts on those things.
Well, the first part of your question, we in the edit room, we were set to release during the finals. That was the idea. We're going to release during the finals. And we were like panicking. We were like, we need more time. There's so much more to do. We're way behind. And then obviously the pandemic happens and we get the phone call like, oh no, we're actually pushing it forward 3 months or whatever it was, 2 months. So we were
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that is the worst possible news. So we were still editing the last 3 or 4 episodes when the show aired. But when the show aired, because of the success of it and the hype and how well it did, and like seeing the response from people, it made finishing those last episodes more fun. It felt like we were more inspired and more like driven to like do a good job and like, do it justice. And it was fun because we were, usually you edit a movie and then it comes out 4 months later but to be editing something in real time, getting the response from people was pretty wild and fun. So it made that last stretch really fun, but it was insane. We were editing from home, and it was hectic, but
Yeah, I can't even
and then
imagine.
yeah, and then the cultural impact, I feel like the thing that shows how culturally crazy this was that aired a year ago. And then last week, SNL did a sketch
Yep.
about The Last Dance. I'm like, they're doing sketches a year later. Like this
Hmm.
thing, it doesn't seem to go away. It's like, it's
The
insane.
I took it personally meme is just so on there. Adam, hop in real quick.
Yeah, I think it's not just a year later. It's going to be the rest of Jordan's life that documentary kind of imprints. It kind of changes his legacy. I think there's going to be people that only saw Last Dance and didn't see him play. So that, I took it personally. All that's forever. Like whenever you talk about Jordan, The Last Dance is going to be that should be one of our brackets, honestly, because The Last Dance Jordan is way more influential than UNC Jordan. It's way more influential than rookie Jordan. So, I mean, take a bow. In fact, when I was doing advertising for my movie, I said, if you have to see one Jordan movie in 2020, you go see Last Dance. But after that, you should probably come see my movie, because it was just, the footage is so incredible, especially for fans that only got to see the surface of that period. That footage, my jaw dropped. Just the first episode, my jaw dropped. I'm like, how the hell did they get in that much? I mean, it needed 20 years till it was released. If that shit would have been public at the time, oh my God. Unbelievable footage. Just unbelievable footage.
It was a beautiful wine barrel, right? That maybe needed to age just perfectly for this moment to come out at that time. And man, you're hitting it right on the head where, my wife is from Pittsburgh. They don't know what basketball is. They have never, but you're right, man. When she watched it, she would literally just turn and be like, wait, he did that? And then wait, he made that. And it wasn't just like hitting a couple shots and win a couple titles. It was this constant over and over thing. And honestly, yeah, I know Abai, you and your team, the people that worked on it, man, to be able to bring something to the table that obviously we loved so much, but to be able to equal the height of it all. Because before you even popped down, we were just talking about singular celebrity in the 90s. That's kind of what our generation has. Now, there is no consensus on a celebrity the way that we had the Madonnas and the Michael Jordans and all that stuff of our time. And the fact that you guys did such an amazing job, and the fact that like when something that big comes out and no one like has a complaint about it, even the diehard nerdy people, that's how you know you guys did a good job. And obviously you guys are nominated for an Emmy for it. Mike, hop back in and then we got to go to the next round.
Yeah, exactly. Just super quick last question. Whose idea was it? Because the thing that still strangely resonates most with me, and it's just a little aside, and I still crack up every time I see the ID, but when they lower third Barack Obama, the lower third is former Chicago resident. So I was curious, like, whose idea was it to ID him as like former Chicago resident, if you know that at all?
No one on our team thought that was weird because we only wanted to include people as much as we could who had some connection to Michael and what happened. And we weren't just interviewing anyone. So what was important about Barack Obama was that, and especially at that point when he's talking, is that he used to live in Chicago. But
Yeah.
no one on the team ever we saw it and it was like, okay, that's normal. There was no like, this is going to be, anything. So we were shocked when the memes started coming up. Looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, that's kind of ridiculous, but we didn't see it coming.
We're gonna hit another round, and then we're gonna get a little Q&A with Adam's documentary, The Amazing Meeting Michael. But let's just get right into it, man. I think you teased it, my friend. Let's just get right into this 3-6 seed right here. It's rookie Michael Jordan versus retirement Michael Jordan. Now, when people are saying rookie Michael Jordan, this is basically what we're considering like 84 to 89, the pre-championship years, the gold necklace, the cursive Chicago on the jersey. Michael Jordan still has hair for the most part, versus retirement Jordan, which is everything and anything. A lot to talk about in this particular category. Mike, you want to get us leaded off first here? Which one do you want us to talk about first?
Well, again, if I want to touch upon rookie Jordan because, like, Adam, like, literally kind of, he kind of started his fandom of Michael Jordan because basically it was a tag along with the Chicago Bears, the '85 Bears. That's how he kind of indirectly became a Bulls and Michael Jordan fan. So we have to remember that at that era, that early '80s, even with Magic and Larry, the NBA was not this popular, widespread sport. It was still very much like a third tier sport. I mean, in doing the research, they were like all the way up until like '86. There were playoff games that were tape delayed playoff games that were not live. I can't imagine any sport, much less a playoff game that was tape delayed. So just let that sink in. And then, again, like in speaking with Adam, this whole idea that, Michael's rookie year was the beginning of the '85 Bears Super Bowl run, right? One of the most iconic, not just football teams of all time, but one of the most iconic sports teams of all time. So the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, to some degree, should have been an afterthought. So just the very fact that he just made just this national splash in the wake of low NBA popularity overall, and then specifically in Chicago with the Bears, like kind of somewhat riding the coattails of the Bears' popularity, it's actually amazing. But again, this era, we were talking about all the different things that he did before the championship years. The only player, he has the only player, I think it was in the 87, 88 season, to win both an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, his scoring, obviously, we know there's no need to regurgitate all his scoring stats. I mean, one of the premier scorers of all time, actually has the highest scoring average. Well, yeah, but here's the thing with that, right? Like, so Michael has the highest scoring average of all time, both regular season and playoffs. Now, he's not one of the all-time leading scorers just by the very nature that he only played 15 years. 1 year was cut short because of the foot injury. Another year, his first return year, he only played 17 games. So, when we talk about the Kareems, now even with like LeBron, they're playing 18 plus seasons in the league. So if Jordan had wanted to stick it out, there's no doubt in my mind he would have smashed every record that there was scoring wise. So that rookie Jordan, again, I know we're kind of cheating a little bit by incorporating kind of all those years prior to that first championship, but that's as dominant in sports history as you can get from an individual accolade standpoint.
Yeah, Adam, hop in. How do you size this up between retirement Jordan and rookie Jordan?
Okay, so big difference here between rookie Jordan and just pre-championship Jordan for me. When I initially heard about it, I was just thinking that first year. But if we're including 5 years, oh my goodness, that was his entry into the stratosphere. You know what I mean? I mean, that was as big as you could get without winning a championship. So, yeah, it depends on how. We got to be careful here because my pick, it changes completely depending on whether we're talking about rookie Jordan or pre-championship Jordan. So this just before we go down this road, because I'm taking this serious.
We're doing pre-champions. So to be even more specific, so that way it clarifies your thought process. It'll be all the years prior to the championship. So
Spikes out in the All-Star game from the free throw line.
Yeah, I was going to say the slam dunk contest. I mean, that's what I remember the most, other than just normal basketball games. How big were those slam dunk contests? The free throw line. I have that poster. Who didn't have that poster? In fact, I have a soft spot more for pre-championship Jordan. Right? That's my childhood. I was born in '75, so when we're talking like '87. Also, I was 12 years old, man. Like that's the moment. That is my childhood. That is way more special. His rookie year, I don't remember that much. Straight up, I remember hearing of him. I was a football fan, but it was honest to God when he scored 63 in the playoffs in '86. that was my first, what did he do? Because I knew I knew how good the Celtics were. And then boom, then you're paying attention, and then comes the McDonald's and the Gatorade and the dunk contests, and then it's like, is he ever going to win a championship? So that's a huge moment. Those years.
This one's super tough in my opinion, and just for reference in that rookie season, I know a lot of people are like, Zach LaVine took a huge step this year. What a score! He had 25 games at 30-plus points this season, which is great. Jordan in his rookie season, 33 times, 30-plus points, plus 7 games of 40-plus points. The dude was a scorer right off the bat. Let's talk about retirement Jordan a little bit, because maybe this is in your sweet spot, right? Because I think this is the first time in my life I grew up with Jordan being this flawless character. And guys, I got to do it at some point with the retirement Jordan of, Kwame Brown, Adam Morrison, Brandon White, DJ Augustine, Gerald Henderson, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Cody Zeller, Noah Vonleh, Frank Kaminsky, Malachi Richardson, trading SGA. I mean, so as a Knicks fan, how do you kind of view Jordan's retirement?
Well, for me, it's hard personally because, as we mentioned earlier, the Last Dance is bulked up into retirement Jordan. So I gotta be grateful to Michael at this at this point in his life. His interviews and how candid he was. That's the only reason that that series was successful. So I do have a soft spot for retirement Jordan because of that. But yeah, I mean, as a Knicks fan and seeing him struggle as an executive was thrilling. I was loving it, and I was like, great, awesome.
Yeah, Mike, hop back in. Look, retirement Jordan, right? Most recently, over the last 3 or 4 years, I think the narrative has really changed, right? Like the humanity with his relationship with Kobe Bryant, the $100 million that he's going to donate to 10 different donations of his choosing to help social justice, the fact that he's getting into NASCAR racing and he's got Bubba Wallace as his driver. I mean, it looks like now Jordan is really trying to start to flex, when honestly the last 20 years, I don't really think the dude wanted to be in the limelight at all, which is completely his choice. So how do you reconcile that, Mike, with all the good things that he done when he gives Tyrese Thomas $40 million and gives a long-term deal to Corey Maggette?
Well, again, the choices he's made in terms of management and ownership, that obviously you can question that, but just the very fact that one, he's the only Black owner of an NBA team. He's the only professional player in the NBA that has majority ownership of a team. And not that things should come down to money by any means, but he's the first billionaire athlete. Currently I think he's worth like 1.9 billion. I think it peaked in it was 2.1 billion last year. So I don't know where he lost that 500 million. It was probably in a golfing bet somewhere along the line, right? But yeah, it's once again, it's like he's elevated his just his presence. It doesn't just have to have been on the basketball court. And the other interesting thing too is that, like, again, we talk about it, to your point, Joey, like he's kind of removed himself from the limelight. These last few years, he's kind of reinserted himself. But like, other than athletes who've kind of gone on to like announcing roles, you can't really name that many athletes who are still in the social consciousness 20 years after they played. Michael Jordan, whether he purposely or wasn't trying to be in the limelight, always has been. Even the crying meme, that's another meme that like was from his Hall of Fame speech, is as famous of a meme as there is out there, right? So just the fact that he is still, we got the Jordan brand, which is, the fact that, I think about this. What other athlete besides, I guess, the Balls, who have their, what's the name of the LeVar Balls company? But anyways, what other athlete literally has their own like brand? Like Jordan brand is now its own separate brand. Like it's still obviously under the Nike umbrella, but it's its own separate entity. I mean, there are, that just from that alone, I think that makes obviously billions of dollars every year. So just the impact that he's had, not even lacing up his shoes. Other people are doing that, obviously, lacing up his shoes, but like, it amazes me that he's constantly evolving, constantly being influential. And so, as you guys also mentioned, we're putting The Last Dance in there. We're putting Meeting Michael in there. So again, there's all these touchstones pop culturally that he's still influencing us to this very day. So it's a tough one between the two.
Yeah, Adam, hop in on this one.
I just have to say, I think it's hilarious how personally you take his poor GM decisions. Joey has numbers. He's got stats. He's got every name. People I don't even know who some of these people are, dude.
MJ, honestly, MJ is my spirit animal. And look, I'm a super even keel dude, and I'm like a comedian, but I still do that shit. Where like, if I get rejected in life, I want to come back, and I might not get him tomorrow, but if I get him 2 years later, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have like MJ, and it just pisses me off that he makes those terrible, horrible decisions like that. And obviously, he takes over a team and then what goes 7-59 or whatever the record was.
And this is the problem with the point that Michael was making was that, okay, he's an owner and all that. Everything ownership wise really does get kind of watered down because he's been so bad at it. You know what I mean? It's almost a wash. Of course, he's the first black owner, and he's a billion like that. Of course, but because he's been so bad at it, it's just really difficult to do anything but wince a little bit. Now you bring in Last Dance, and dude, obviously, if you saw Meeting Michael, you know what his speech at Kobe's memorial did to me, right? I can't even think about it right now without tearing up. But again, I know how I'm voting. So go to Ave.
Final thoughts before we go to vote.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if Jerry Krause is, laughing in his grave somewhere, seeing Michael struggle as a GM. There's some bad karma that got.
And you're bringing up a great point, man, because when we're talking about rookie Jordan, we are in this category. There were several situations, the Charles Oakley story, or Michael wanted certain guys or his buddies drafted, and I want Charles Oakley on the team, and Krause is like, no, I'm trading him for Bill Cartwright, man, and that really started a bit of a friction relationship. And you're actually bringing up a really good point, because there were several situations where Michael was dead wrong on stuff that he wanted that Jerry Krause went against the grain with, and it actually worked out for the betterment of his career. Whether the competitive juices got in the way or not, but I mean, it definitely kind of played out like that. Adam, hop back in.
Real quick story. When I was in the locker room with him, when we were all just hanging around talking, nobody's recording or whatever, he was talking about Glenn Big Dog Robinson. And I interrupted him and said, well, actually, Vin Baker is doing way better. Now, he stopped, stared at me like, don't you ever fucking do this. Who do you think you are, right? And I just remember completely wilting. And of course, you go to like 2 years later, Glenn Big Dog Robinson, I think he was signed to Jordan while Jordan was still playing. Remember, there was a time in the 90s where you had all, and it was like, this is weird. And I went right back to that memory going, oh, he probably had that all figured out before. And I'm the asshole who came in to go, oh, no, Vin. That was, but again, one of those things that is burned into your brain. You don't ever do that. But yeah, he has been quite wrong on who he's thought was the next whatever. It's remarkable how wrong he is when it comes to those decisions. I can't believe it.
Yeah, and he's a human being, so there's a for better or for worse, and we always kind of look at the better with Michael because we view him as this perfect basketball player ever. But the most interesting thing for me going through this rookie Jordan era was, I mean, when we talk about struggles with the Pistons, guys, I mean, this was a real deal thing. I mean, I'm just pulling up some stuff real quick. Let's look at the 89 playoffs. First round, he plays Cleveland, averages 39.8 a game. Next round, plays the Knicks, 35.6 a game. In that stretch, he has 6 of 11 games of 40-plus more points. But then he goes against Detroit. And, dude, look at these game stats. There's a capsizing that goes on. He shoots 5 for 15 in a game 4. He shoots only 4 of 8 for 22 points. He shoots a bunch of free throws. He shoots 4 of 8 in a game 5. Like, just imagine putting that in the modern context of how we ingest sports. And obviously, let's put LeBron's name on it. If LeBron shoots 4 for 8 in a game 5 of an Eastern and Western Conference Finals, we are going to be giving that dude mega, mega, mega shit, right? So, I mean, there are these moments now that we're always looking at the highs and stuff, but to think that the dude didn't have some challenges along the way. I mean, I'm looking at 90 playoffs next year, shoots 5 of 16 in game 2, 7 of 19 in game 5. I mean, that just doesn't cut it, right? And that's where some of that criticism comes in, which is just funny, where the rookie Jordan is like this phenom, right? This flash, but there are some flaws along there too as well. Mike, I think it's time, man. Final thoughts, and let's put in a vote.
No, I am ready to vote, and I'm going to go right away with retirement Jordan. I mean, again, just his impact still to this day is amazing. So it's retirement Jordan for me.
A bye, rookie Jordan or retirement Jordan?
Yeah, this was personal for me. I'm going retirement Jordan.
Wow, it's 2-0. Adam, my friend, where are we going?
I'm going rookie Jordan.
I'm going rookie Jordan as well, which might
What do we do?
might be our only tiebreaker. Our only tiebreaker, man.
No, this is why we have tie-breaking games in store. So, Adam, you're actually going to participate in this first tiebreaker. So we're really going to test your Michael Jordan knowledge here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 true or false questions, and then all you have to do is answer 3 or more of them correct, and then that means your choice of rookie Jordan gets to move on into the next round. So
I don't think I'm cheating. I'm totally cheating. But here we go.
No, so here we go. I'm going to do them fast. I'm going to throw them at you real fast. True or false? Michael Jordan was born in New York.
True.
It is true. Michael Jordan was born on February 17th, 1963 in the Fort Greene neighborhood of Brooklyn. Michael and his family eventually moved to his more famous residence of Wilmington, North Carolina in 1968. Number 2, true or false? Michael Jordan is the first player to ever record a triple-double in NBA All-Star Game history.
Whoa. It's got to be false.
It is true. During the 1997 All-Star Game, Michael recorded 14 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists to beat the Western All-Stars. Strangely, though, he did not win the MVP that game. It actually went to Glenn Rice, who he only scored 26 points in that game. So it's amazing that Michael Jordan, who got a triple-double, didn't get the MVP.
Glenn Rice got hot. Glenn Rice got hot.
Yeah.
In 40 years of the All-Star Game, there hadn't been a triple-double?
He was the first. The only other players to repeat that were Kevin Durant, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James. All right, wow. Number 3, true or false? Michael Jordan has no tattoos.
That's false. He's got the little shoehorn thing.
You nailed it. Yes, he has a tattoo over his heart bearing the Omega horseshoe symbol, which represents his college fraternity of Omega Psi Phi. All right, so you have 2 right. So basically you have 2 questions to get one of them right. True or false? The iconic silhouette of Jordan flying through the air, known as the Jumpman logo, has always been the Jordan brand logo.
Just because it's a question, I got to say false.
You are correct. The original Air Jordan logo actually featured a basketball on top of a series of wings, often referred to as the OG logo. The Jumpman logo didn't appear until 1987. So you already won. That already means that rookie Jordan is advancing. But do you want to just do the 5th one just for shits and giggles? Okay, great. So true or false? This is a great one. This is why I wanted to still do this. There is a bacterial disease named after Michael Jordan.
Yes, of course that's true.
Yeah, I think you get the sense of this game. It is true. In 1993, Dr. Stanford Schulman, a huge Michael Jordan fan, discovered a strain of salmonella that he named Salmonella M. Jordan. Schulman insisted that Jordan would feel honored by this since the bacteria, the way Jordan treats his opponents, causes one to experience diarrhea, severe headaches, and intense abdominal pain. As a side note, as Abai in his, The Last Dance so wonderfully documented, it would be ironic if Jordan actually had Salmonella M. Jordan during his famous flu game against the Jazz, which, as we learned in The Last Dance, might have actually been food poisoning more so than the flu. So that means rookie Jordan is advancing in our bracket.
All right, Joey. Woo!
Known as Cleveland Cavaliers, I think was also known as that fungus for quite some time. We're going to bang out one more round before we get to our Q&A and the final 4. This final one is the number 2 seed. This is second 3-peat Jordan, 96 to 98, or for some, if you want to include that 95 year of him coming back into 98, that's allowed to as well, versus the number 7 seed, Wizards Jordan. Here we go. Abai, if you'd like to go first on Wizards Jordan or the second 3-peat, how would you like to begin this little round table here?
I think we should just skip this whole thing and just, this is the easiest one to me.
I know.
Yeah. Wizard, is there anything positive to take from Wizards Jordan? Maybe that a black owner, which is pretty, remarkable and great. But other than that,
yeah. It's a weird time. Adam, hop in. I know you got a lot of thoughts on Wizards, Jordan. I'm dying to hear.
I love Wizards Jordan. I feel like I'm the only person. I recorded every game. I made little highlight reels. I liked him because he was flawed and old, and he was fighting that. It was something we didn't see, which is just way more relatable as a storyteller, or as that's just relatable to me. Watching LeBron last night with a bad ankle have to kind of reinvent how he's going to play, and just I'm going to enjoy the last few years of LeBron's performance or his career because of that. Jordan was overweight. He was out of shape most of the time, and he was still amazing. He was still amazing at 39 and 40. Barring injury, he could have gotten that awful, awful team to the playoffs. People forget how good they were for a stretch that first season. So I have a huge... I just enjoy actual struggle. It's kind of why I like rookie Jordan so much, when it wasn't so obvious. But yes, if you're going to compare him to freaking second three-peat Jordan,
yeah. Well, this one's going to be tough, and it might be a sweep. But man, you're bringing up such a great point. Where, look, personally, it hurt my heart to watch him go to the Wizards. But what you were bringing up though is the clapback, if you will, of, well, Jordan was on the team. He was on the team with his guys, and he had Phil Jackson. He would never come back unless he knew that he can win a title. Well, this kind of shuts down that narrative, right? Of, he wasn't, of course, he was always in it to win titles, but in the end, he knew that he wasn't going to win an NBA title with the Wizards, but came back to play anyways, man. And you're bringing up a great point because, that team was pretty solid that year until he hurt his knee, 60 games in. And then the dude came back and played 82 games, averaged 36 minutes a game. All right. So, hey, Kawhi, guys, load management dudes out there. He's 40 years old. He played every single game, 36 minutes a game. That's pretty damn cool. Mike, hop in.
No, I agree with Adam. There's kind of no reason to even waste our bullets on the second three-peat Jordan. But I will say this. Again, I think we have to give props to Michael in the fact that I think his eye was on the larger prize. It was about ownership. It was about management. Because let's face it, unlike today's era of our LeBron James, of these various players that have jumped ship to chase after championships, there is no way if Michael wanted that seventh championship, he was playing for the Wizards. Let's just be honest. He wasn't going to the Wizards to win a championship. He was, if anything, trying to, again, show his dominance, as Adam was saying, at an older age, trying to will a lesser team to the playoffs to potentially win a championship. But it wasn't a scenario where, like, okay, I'm handpicking the teams that I think are going to win the championships that year and then go to that team. So again, I give him props for making the comeback on a lesser team. And again, he's the oldest player to score 40 points in his, as I think he scored 43 against the Nets at age 40. But just, the fact that he still is asserted himself and tried to assert himself, as opposed to like, okay, I've got one, maybe two more chances to win a championship. I'm going to go. I don't know at that point in time who was like the championship caliber teams, but he wasn't going to those teams. He was still trying to do it on his own, a la Hulk Hogan, right? Like Hulkamania. Like, I don't need to team up with these guys. I'm going to try to do it myself.
Well, Phil Jackson wanted him to come, by the way. He's like, to the Lakers. Like, he was like, hey, we got a spot for you right here. And Jordan's like, nah, I'm not doing it about this. It's about something else, like Joey was saying.
Yeah, so they gave it to Rick Fox instead.
Right.
Before we get out of here on this round real quick, just for some modern, for the people that are listening, like, well, how good was Jordan on the Wizards? 142 games. He averaged 21.2 points, 5.9 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 1.5 steals, shot 43% from the field. Just for reference, those are pretty much the exact same numbers as a Brandon Ingram, a Jimmy Butler, or a Malcolm Brogdon in the league today. And he was 40 years old. So, I mean, if we want to kind of if we want to like hold up Jimmy Butler and be like, wow, what a great player. This is what Jordan was doing at 40. And then the final one real quick. Here are some all-time NBA greats at 39 years old. Kareem at 39 averaged 17.5 points, 6.7 rebounds. Malone at 39 averaged 20.6 points, 7.8 rebounds. Hakeem Olajuwon at 39, 7 points, only 6 boards. He was washed. Tim Duncan, 8.6, 7.3. He was washed. So, if you even put him up against some of the greats in the game, Jordan, in theory, was still doing it better at that age, even with the knee, than perhaps any of those other guys, or maybe his contemporaries or the generation before him did at that particular age. Let's get in a vote. Bye, go first. Wizards Jordan versus 96 through 98. I don't know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, it's the second three-peat.
Yeah, second three-peat. I'm taking that too as well. That's gonna go 2-0. Adam, are you gonna throw a sympathy vote out there, or where are we going?
I was saying, how come you didn't like Wizards Jordan better? Because they was losing. I mean, come on. I would think that's your favorite Jordan.
Well, then the Knicks during that period weren't as relevant, so it didn't really matter as much.
But yes, my pick is the second three-peat, of course.
Yeah, the end of the Allen Houston era. Mike, is this a clean sweep?
It is 100% a clean sweep, so I think we should definitely move on.
We should have never ever let Michael Jordan play for the Wizards. If you never heard that Kanye West song, check it out on YouTube. It's pretty amazing. And we're gonna move on to our final four in just a second. But real quick, Adam, thank you for waiting. But the viewers and listeners, they need to know more about your documentary, Meeting Michael. Me and Mike checked it out beforehand. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing story for any Chicagoan that has the dream of one day being across Michael and interacting with him. You made it happen. Tell us a quick little synopsis about the documentary and how you made it done, and then also how people can check it out too as well, because it's awesome.
I was in talk radio in 1995, and I was very vocal about how big of a Jordan fan that I was. Almost to the point of upsetting my program director, because I would watch games when I was supposed to be on air, and I would yell during, that kind of stuff. So one day somebody said, dude, you work at a radio station. Get a press pass. Go meet him. And I went, you can't do that. And so I'm like, sure. I wrote to my sports director. I'm like, yeah, can I have a press pass? And he was like, yeah, sure. It's right here. And I was like, what? And I got a press pass, and I bought a video camera thinking, I'll just videotape the whole thing, not realizing how unbelievably not allowed that is. And I went there, and I just did everything a fan would do, right? That's straight up. Like, there's no other way to put it. And instead of going where you're supposed to go when you're a radio broadcaster at a basketball game, into the little media section, I went to the floor, and I sat there. And I recorded everything. And I recorded inside the locker room. And I ended up recording an interaction with Jordan and a fan who, looking back now, nobody ever knew about this if I hadn't recorded it. So it's this really special, it's a special video in that sense. So I made a little edit of it back in 1995. And of course, there's no way to distribute it. I couldn't really sell. Obviously, I didn't own it. That's for the NBA. Obviously, would have ownership of that, and so I just kind of kept it for 15 years. Didn't even think about it. YouTube came along, and they changed their time to 15 minutes that you could put up. I'm like, ooh, I'll put a 15-minute version up, and it kind of blew up. Got a million views, and Washington Post did a story, and so forth, and then I had the idea that at the 25th anniversary of it, which was last November, I'd really do a deep dive, because the footage is not the Last Dance footage, which I joke about often to people. I'm like, trust me, if you're going to see one, as I said, you go watch The Last Dance, because it's the most unbelievable footage you can get. What's different about my footage is that there's a little twinge of magic to it, because the person holding it is a fan. It is clearly not professional. It's clearly a little kid freaking out. And my kids go up into my attic, find all the footage, and I tell them the story. And then we go through, and I show them the shoes, and I show them the signatures, and it's kind of like a fan movie that happens to house this really interesting subplot of that Eddie Nara, the really shitty fan, who was screaming at Jordan and making fun of his shoes, the best shoes he ever released. The Concord 11s, my God, did he know that he was making fun of the Concord 11s? It still gets me, dude. So yeah, that's Meeting Michael. It was just about a day that I spent 25 years ago as fresh out of my teens. And you feel like I've gotten this from a bunch of middle-aged men that write to me and go, dude, I felt like I was 15 again. Because that's exactly what I would have done if I was in your shoes, dude.
What's so great about it is it's authentic, sincere with some craftsmanship, but it's almost like one of those found footage movies, but expertly put together, and that's what's so great about it. Mike, hop in.
Well, yeah, also I think the thing that gives it its heart is I really love the framework. The story is about you relaying this story to your kids. And so that's what gives it its sentimentality. That's what gives it its heart. That's what gives it, this whole idea. It's about a father, and who cares what the topic is? In your case, it was about Michael Jordan and meeting Michael Jordan, but it's about a father passing his legacy down to his children. And so to me, I think that framework is what really makes it touching. And I will say to your, like you do mention, like, you kind of approach it as a fan, and as we all would at 19 years old, we all would have asked Michael to sign, a jersey at the risk of being fired and so forth. But I will say, you may have been the first one who asked Michael Jordan the question, because at that point, right, they were 4-0. So you may have been the first one recorded from a journalistic standpoint to ask him, hey, do you think you got a shot to win 72 games this year? And at the time, Jordan kind of blew it off, but as they would, at least at that time, went on to set the NBA record for most wins.
It was being talked the second they got Rodman. We all went, oh, they're going to win 70. They're clearly going to win. Like, it was just...
Will they lose? Yeah, will they lose? How much will they play? Yeah.
So it was not an original idea, but I can't find anybody who asked him that before I asked him. So I guess you can say that. Yeah. But quickly, because this did come out after The Last Dance, as a filmmaker, in my brain, I had to think about what The Last Dance represented. And the footage is so good, it feels like you are on the Bulls, right? Like, the footage is so good. You are there. It is so intense, and I wanted meeting Michael to feel the way we felt, which was, it was a little more magical. He was bigger than life. I had no business doing this. I shouldn't be there. And the movie feels completely different because the footage is a little too grainy, and I do a whole section in the movie where I show you how I was hiding it in my going like this the whole game. So I think that's what I'm proud about, because it tells a completely different story about what it feels like to have done that. But my goodness, it's going to get compared to The Last Dance because it was released the same year, and there is no comparison, man. It is not the same movie.
Yeah, well, anyway you take your Jordan is a great way to take it, in my opinion. Right. And it's something that absolutely needs to be checked out. And it also reminds me of, and Abai, I want to ask you this real quick, because I was just impressed you were able to go up to Mike. I mean, because look, this isn't like a tooting my horn. This is just adding context. Being out here in LA, working in the restaurant industry, I've met so many, and in the business, so many different celebrities, right? That I'd come home, my wife would be like, "Oh my God, you met them," and I don't have a problem talking to celebrities, but I tell you, if Michael Jordan was in a room, I don't know what I would do. My mouth would go dry. You know what I mean? I would be, dumbfounded. I would be scared as almost a child to go up and talk to him. You know what I mean? That's just kind of like my guy. Bye real quick. It's not MJ. I know that, but who's the guy? Who's the athlete for you that, like, if you walked into your room right now, you'd be like dumbfounded. You'd be speechless. You wouldn't know what to say.
My favorite athlete of all time is John Starks. So he would be one that was special. I was lucky enough to work on some...
Look at this. We're mending fences right here.
There you go. I was lucky to work with Walt Frazier for a little bit, for a couple of days on a project. And I definitely had that feeling of like being overwhelmed and scared, but he was so kind and warm and like trying to put everyone at ease. So he's got a soft spot in my heart just because how nice he was to everyone, which, I don't think a lot of athletes are like that. But Adam,
just from men, everyone got their beards all.
He was happy to sign stuff. He was, when you go up to someone that you admire or who's a celebrity, you don't want to be the guy who's like, what was it like to do this? He was happy to answer any question. He indulged you in any kind of thing you wanted to talk about, which was so awesome. So, I don't know if Michael would do that. I mean, Michael's different, Michael it must be so hard to be Michael. But anyways, Adam, I have to say, as a sports fan, like that feeling of I can relate, and I'm curious. I want to see the film because that feeling of like being somewhere where you're not supposed to be and like allowed to cross that line is so interesting and so lucky.
Yeah, and I bring this up in the doc as well. Everybody who was used to being in the press knows, it says you're allowed to go into the locker room at this point, but that's first you go here and then you go, but I'd never done it, right? So I read that, and at 11:01 a.m. I walked in. And I sat down and I just acted like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And it was just me, Quinn Buckner, and Jordan. And they're all looking at me like, the fuck are you doing, kid? And they were cool with it. Krause was not cool with me. He screamed at me and made me leave. But I kept just doing what, half of doing anything is just acting like you know what you're doing, right?
Yep.
And since I clearly didn't know what I was doing, I'm like, well, everything I'm doing is just doing that. So I ended up just kind of walking into this stuff, and I would just be quiet and try not to get on anybody. The craziest thing is I sat on the fucking court, and nobody made me leave. It's the craziest thing, and I'm videotaping it, and the photographers next to me are like, I don't think you can videotape the game, dude. And I'm like, oh, I'm just using the audio. I'm in radio. And they're like, no, that's not how that works. But they didn't want this. I don't think they were going to go get the security. So it just kind of all worked out. Now, I did go back 6 months later for the next game, and they remembered me. And they were like, we'll be taking that camera, and we'll be giving it back to you when it's over. And you will be sitting way up there now. So
I'm friends with Ray Clay. No. You didn't get you.
No, you. So hey, I had that one moment,
And great story, and congratulations on the doc, and obviously everyone listening right now.
Easiest way to find it is Amazon Prime, by the way. It's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's free right now too, which is
free right now. Yeah.
Very nice. It's time to move on to our final four, you guys. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. If I got this correct, Troy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's going to be the first three-peat versus medium mogul Jordan, and then rookie Jordan versus 96 second three-peat Jordan. The beginning and the end.
Yep, that is correct.
So let's do that one real quick. Let's do rookie versus second three-peat. Mike, open us up here right now. Can the beginning really trump the end here? I know we all kind of work in the entertainment industry. That might be a little hard to pull off.
Well, here's the thing too, right? And I would love to hear Abai's opinion on this, because obviously the Last Dance is the culmination, right, of the second three-peat. And so your insight will be invaluable to this. So I'm not going to say too much, but I will just say, like, as hard as it was when we talk about first three-peat Jordan to kind of get that first three-peat, to do it again, and then to do it with that first leg of the second three-peat where it was, right, he's making his comeback out of retirement from baseball. Does he have it, right? So there was that whole pressure. And then, as again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it was brilliantly displayed in the Last Stand series. Then you get to that third leg of the second three-peat, and just the pressure of, like, knowing this is it. And that still boggles. I still cannot forgive Jerry Krause for, like, hey, every championship team should get the chance to defend their championship. There should never be a time where you break up a championship team. But as things as they were, and it is what it is, the pressure of knowing that in all probability, this is the last time this squad is playing together. So that was that stress. So just the idea of, like, them living up to the expectations. Adam, you brought this up in the very beginning about Michael, just living up to the expectations of what everyone expected them to do, and they did it. That's amazing.
Yeah, Abai, hop in on this.
Yeah, in the footage and in the interviews, the guys who were involved in that second three-peat, they all said that was the hardest thing to do. Winning 3 times is already nearly impossible, and specifically that third one is so hard. And to do it twice, I can't imagine. And like, as you see in the documentary, just with everything that's going on, to be able to pull that out, Rodman wasn't the same player by the end. Pippen, and it was injured and had all his stuff with Jerry Krause. I do have to say, and this kind of goes back to Wizards Jordan, and this might be crazy to say, but I think, in my opinion, Jerry Krause might have done you guys a favor. I love the idea as a fan, seeing Jordan go out on top, seeing this unblemished, I don't love it, it tortured me, but to me, there's nothing more impressive or and cool to go out on top and have no blemishes. So I'm not sure they would have won the next year. I don't think they would have, and I wonder if Jerry Krause did you a favor. And that's my problem with Wizards Jordan, is that, it was so perfect. Why blemish?
Yeah, it's a really interesting what if, because I agree with you. We were leaning on Bison Dele a whole lot that season. Ron Harper was toast. Rodman was toast. Kerr was going to leave as a free agent. There's a lot going on there. Adam, I want you to hop in with your thoughts on this, and also maybe the added wrinkle too as well of not only was the team internally like, pissed off at Krause and Phil wanted to leave and stuff, but how does the NBA have Michael Jordan going for his 6th title, his 2nd straight three-peat, and be looking straight into the face of a work stoppage, which eventually did happen? I mean, how do you have your greatest star doing perhaps the most important thing you could ever have in the history of your game and have labor disputes? It seems, unconscionable to me.
Well, that's probably why, because the players now had leverage. So, I mean, that's why work stoppages happen.
Hey, yeah, touche, man. Great point. Yeah.
But to the point that he was making, which this is the argument that is forever. 6-0 in the finals, therefore the greatest. It doesn't compare to someone who goes and loses and so forth. And I just disagree with that, only because at no point when we were playing the Pistons in '89 or '90 were we like, well, thank God we lost, because we wouldn't want to have gone to the finals and lost to the Lakers. I'm like, no, you want to keep playing and you want to keep winning, and then I'm a big fan of you give everything you can, every second you can, as hard as you can. You don't stop because you can't have your coach. And as much as I was frustrated with Krause and that whole ending, they didn't want him to leave. They just said, we're not rehiring Phil Jackson. And this is where I kind of give the tip of the hat to LeBron. LeBron has taken more crappy coaches to the finals than anybody on the planet. He just keeps going and going and going. And you can call it chasing rings, and of course it is. But Jordan put the ring count this high. You've kind of made these new people do this. But I wish they had kept going and pushed and pushed and pushed till their legs broke. And then you get to reevaluate later. Because Jordan regrets not having a chance at 7. You know it. For the rest of his life.
Absolutely. And he probably, and again, it is the we'll never know, right? And Abai, to your point, he might not have won. He might have gotten really close and come up short, but we'll never kind of know that. And you're bringing up a great point where it's just like that LeBron stat of 10 straight finals is just.
It's 9 out of 10, but still, yes, it's
crazy. Yeah, 9 out of 10, but it's a crazy number. It's just a crazy number, and you can get into the wins and losses and stuff. But the fact that he's there every single year after year, as the final.
And I know it's longevity, but this is his 50th playoff series. Can we stop for a second and think about that? It's his 50th playoff series. He's just so good. It's crazy. But on the Jordan three-peat thing, I mean, there's no. The reason the second three-peat is better than everything for me is that, well, could he do it again? He went to baseball. He's not the same player. He can't jump the same way. He was so doubted going into that. And then he won it once, like, oh, yeah, but you're never going to win it 3 like you did when you were younger. And then he did it again. And I just love that, Jordan. I just love that. Can't jump as high, but I find a way. And I'm still dominant. I just dominate you a different way. I love it. I love everything about it.
We're talking minimum 8 Pete. Mike, hop in.
All right.
No, but Abai is totally correct, because, I mean, even more simply, Jerry Krause was the common enemy. And when you can band against a common enemy like the Bulls did, that invigorates the rest of the team, right? So I think, for many different reasons, we can thank Jerry Krause for both good and bad. The other interesting thing is, and we talk about all these coincidences, right? Like the fact that Portland somehow passed on Jordan and all these different coincidences, but also we kind of have to thank Major League Baseball for potentially allowing Jordan to return, because we have to remember they had a lockout themselves the year that Jordan returned. So who knows how much longer, Jordan did not want to cross the picket line. So that's where he had to stop playing baseball. So had there not been a lockout that year, who knows how much longer he would have kept going with baseball. So once again, these kind of weird circumstances that have allowed Jordan to, become Michael Jordan. But again, who knows? Who knows if he would even be if there would even be a team to do a second three-peat had baseball not gone into a lockout that year.
Well, and Mike, we've done this bit before too. Who knows if he wins 3 more titles if he doesn't train all summer shooting Space Jam in a gym with all of his NBA buddies. Yeah. You know what I mean? He really gets back to the top of his game. It's time to vote on this one. This seems pretty straightforward. I'm going to go first. Obviously, second three-peat trumps rookie Jordan. We work in linear time here in this game called life. So I'm going with the end on this one. Adam, real quick, where are you voting?
Absolutely, second three-peat.
Second three-peat, 2-0. Bye.
Yeah, second three-peat.
Yeah, 3-0. We got a clean sweep, Mike.
Yeah, just so you guys know, it's typically a lot of tiebreakers, and we have a ton of tie-breaking games. So there's been a lot of lopsided matchups in this. But yes, clean sweep. It's second three-peat for me as well.
I don't think we're getting a clean sweep in this next round here. This is first three-peat Jordan versus media mogul Jordan. Man, they're almost like one and the same. I don't really know. I don't really know what to do about this. Mike, open it up right here. We've kind of talked a little bit about both of them, but let's talk maybe about where are you leaning on this one right now? Because this is perhaps our closest round so far.
Well, for me, my tendency is, as you guys have probably overheard throughout this pod, is that it's the overall impact, right? What Michael accomplished on the court spanned 15 years. And again, we can talk about records, we can talk about accolades, we can talk about championships, but that's a finite time for most athletes, right? Including Michael Jordan. But what he has impacted literally globally is a lifetime achievement. And now, as we're seeing, as we've kind of alluded to, whether it is kind of unfortunately his appearance at the Kobe Memorial, whether it is, the last dance, whether it's these things that keep coming back up. And like again, like there are only possibly two other athletes who have ever had that much of a cultural impact, and that's Babe Ruth, that's Muhammad Ali. But he's in a rarefied air where like he has literally transcended sports. He is almost, there's definitely a certain demographic that probably is kind of aware that he was a basketball player, but he's probably known as a brand. The Air Jordans is probably, to a certain generation of kids and a certain demographic kids, that's more well known than Michael Jordan, the basketball player. It's Michael Jordan, the shoe. So again, I'm leaning towards retirement Jordan only because media mogul Jordan only because of his overall continued impact in pop culture.
Adam, hop in first. Go for it.
Let me just say, I think I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I agree with everything Michael just said. Media mogul Jordan put the pressure on first three-peat Jordan to a degree that was unbelievable, right? Like he had a lot. I mean, the reason that first championship was so huge was because all the doubters were like, okay, you're selling every product on the planet and your shoes and you're a scoring champ, but you haven't won anything. Like that pressure, we don't remember it because we've always thought of Jordan as the best of the best, right? But no, there was a time there where he'd been in the league for 7 years and had never won anything. So that first three-peat is really just this culmination of, I showed you. You guys raised the bar, you put me up into this stratosphere, and I came out on top and did it 3 times in a row, and then I walked away because I didn't need you anymore. Like, it's just such a pimp move what he did in that first three-peat. So, I mean, I am absolutely leaning towards media mogul only because it incorporates the entire career, right? But, boy, is that first three-peat pretty special. I mean, it really did encapsulate him forever.
We got cases for both sides here. Abai, which way are you leaning right now? I know the 93 season's not a fun one for you.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing comes like, are we talking about the greatest Jordan? Or are we talking about my personal favorite? Because if we're talking about how I feel personally, first three-peat Jordan is my least favorite Jordan. He's, I can go into the details of the series that he just, tortured the Knicks. The Knicks were up 2-0, and then Jordan, and I'm like, oh, we finally getting over the hump, and then Jordan comes in and destroys us. Anyways, but I think there's one main point here that's when you're having this discussion of these two, media mogul versus first three-peat, and Michael Jordan said this in the interview, there is no media mogul Jordan if he's not winning. That no one cares about Michael Jordan if he's not winning. So clearly, to me, the most important thing is that he's an incredible basketball player and he's winning. Because without that, nothing else is happening. So I would go first three-peat Jordan because that's peak Jordan basketball.
Media mogul Jordan, it's intense. It's the swath, right? I mean, the dude. I mean, let's just be honest here. Like, we're 4 grown men here. I mean, Michael Jordan's a handsome motherfucker. Like he's a good looking dude. Like, truly though, you know what I mean? Good looking, incredibly charming dude who also just so happens to be this incredibly, generationally talented basketball player. Makes the bald thing look cool. You know what I mean? Wears the biker shorts, makes that look cool all of a sudden. Abai, hop back in.
I think goatee Jordan, who you mentioned earlier, is an underrated Jordan look. I feel like that's when he looked his meanest.
Clearly
Goatee
agree.
Jordan is like, whoa. So, anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
You're like, damn. And look, here's my only thing. I'm just as torn as you guys, but the first 3P Jordan, man, I mean, you've just got these moments here. You got him taking on Magic, right? You've got him, going up in the air saying, oh, I don't know, and going up with his other arm. You got that iconic moment there. For me personally, that second season, that 92 season, is so underrated, in my opinion. Jordan plays some of the best basketball of his career. He absolutely rips through the playoffs, and then he gets to Portland. And that shrug game, man. I mean, so I was born in '84, so I'm Adam's age when he's a rookie. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's when I'm right there, and that's when we learn about the zone. I don't even know if the zone was created until Michael Jordan popped, 35 in the first half against the Blazers. And then they started going into, somehow the basket looks bigger and all this other stuff. And then what does he do for that three-peat? He comes back in a bye-man, to your point. That Knicks series almost killed me at the age of 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, you guys took up that 2-0 lead.
Real quick, Jordan was awful in game 3. Pippen saved him.
And Starks dunks. Oh, dunks over us. I mean, the crowd goes wild. You're like, wow, man, this is maybe the end of the road. This is the turning of the tide, right? And then you got the Charles Smith game in there. You've got Jordan winning an ESPY that season off of the strip, and then he chases down McDaniel. And then that was the first time in my life in that game 7 where I just said to myself, Jordan will not be denied. And from that point on, through the rest of the 96, 97, 98 championship years, I just kind of like rode on that. Like, it was almost like watching a movie where like the hero isn't going to die in the end. He's just going to figure it out. And then he did. It's just such a hard thing and clearly, like, we're so spoiled as Bulls fans. You know what I mean? And Abai, you were on the other side of that, but like, that's just that thing. That's when it really started, though. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, that's when it really started, just being so, oh my God, go ahead.
Well, that's the feeling from the other end, is like, we're not going to do this. Jordan's going to take over. He's going to figure it out. That's the one thing that I feel like when I compare him and LeBron is that I love LeBron. He's incredible. I don't get that feeling of like with Jordan, you're like, where this is ending. And he always like did it. He never, he always lived up to it. And you don't get that feeling with anyone, or I haven't got that with anyone else.
No, yeah. You just kind of tip your cap, right? Tom Brady's like that now. Like, let's be honest. Tom Brady just kind of sort of finds a way. Kobe, I felt like that was, towards that kind of that end run there, was this man, he's just going to will his way to victory. And with LeBron, yeah, I feel the same thing, because we're Bulls fans, right? Dude, we're shoes on the other foot. Like, LeBron's been torturing us since what, like 08, 09. You know what I mean? Like, he did it for like 6-7 years straight. And there was always that thing of like, maybe we can beat him. Man, LeBron would have that game 5 where he would show up and he'd just be like, man, I'm not fucking around this game. And he would drop, 40 and 12 or something. And it would kind of flex his greatness. Adam, hop in.
I think some of the difference with the mystique of Jordan won't let it. Phil Jackson and that system, and it was so meant for that kind of thing. Jordan's a shooting guard, right? He is more reliant on a system than almost any other. LeBron can make it up. He could literally just run the whole thing by himself with awful people. That 07 team he took to the finals, worst fucking team in the finals in the history of the finals. But Jordan really did need a good system, and he proved it with the Wizards. I guarantee you, if he was on the Lakers, they would have been fine. He would have been amazing. But that system, more than him, especially because, as you were saying, Knicks were up 2-0. Jordan comes in, he's awful in game 3. The system worked, despite him, right? So, again, the mystique, media mogul lifts his mystique up to this level sometimes that is just... it's amazing, and we kind of forget that Phil Jackson's kind of a good coach, and Scottie Pippen's one of the best all-around players that ever played.
Yeah, there's a reason why Luke Longley would score the first 10 points in every game. You know what I mean? They'd get the big man going early. It would work the whole thing, and yeah, it's a great point. Mike, final thoughts, and then we got to put in a vote.
No, I am ready to vote, and again,
you go. Yeah.
No, I mean, here's my thing, and again, it goes to his overall relevance, and so for me, it's still got to be Media Mogul Jordan.
Media Mogul Jordan. We got one vote here. Adam, we're gonna go to you next, man. Where are you going?
Man, this is a coin flip for me, because the point was great about the first three-peat. I still think because the first three-peat is only 3 years, and Media Mogul Jordan is 20, 30 years. It's Media Mogul Jordan.
2-0. Bye. What do you got?
Yeah, got to go with first three-peat Jordan. Just, torturing the Knicks, and then on top of that, like again, I still feel like if he wasn't winning, there's no Media Mogul. So I'm going first three-peat.
Mike, dude, we got one more tie, dude. I'm going first three-peat Jordan against the Suns in the 93 finals. 41 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, 6.3 assists, 33 shots a game, 51% from the field.
That's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive.
Oh,
but more importantly, that means we have a tie, right, Joey? We have another tie. So we have another tie-breaking game. This time, this one is for you, Abai. As a diehard Knicks fan, we designed this specifically for you. So we call it 6 degrees of separation, which is based around the premise that everyone is connected to everyone else on the planet by no more than 6 people. So with that in mind, 7 players have played with both Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing during their career, not counting the Olympics. As an example, Joey kind of mentioned earlier that, Charles Oakley and Bill Cartwright were directly traded for one another in 1988. So of the remaining 5 players, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to name me at least one player who played with both Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing, not on the Olympic team. Are you ready?
Wait, we're not taking Oakley and Cartwright?
Yeah, so those are off the board. So there are 5 remaining players.
I blew it.
All you need to do is name one of them. So 30 seconds. You can just start spitballing names. The clock starts now.
Oh my God. I'm first of all terrible with names, but let's see.
I want to get this too. I'm thinking about this one too.
Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing.
I'll give you a hint with one. It occurred when Ewing, 2 of them occurred when Ewing was actually on the Orlando Magic. You have 10 seconds.
That doesn't help at all. Was one of those big guys weren't around when the 2 tall guys weren't around when Jordan. This is too hard. I would have said Oakley and Cartwright right away, but I don't.
That is time.
You're going to say it and I'm going to be like, oh yeah.
So as we kind of first again, it's Charles Oakley and Bill Cartwright were the obvious ones, but Pete Myers and Trent Tucker were both on the Bulls and the Knicks. And then here are the 2 that are super surprising. As I alluded to, they were teammates with Ewing during his final year on the Orlando Magic. It was Horace Grant and Judd Buechler.
Oh God, Horace Grant. Yeah, that one I probably should have got. Judd Buechler, coached for the Knicks too for a while. So
yeah, so that means unfortunately, Media Mogul Jordan defeats first three-peat Jordan and moves into the finals.
That's fantastic. I love this. I mean, first three-peat's amazing, but yeah, here we are, man, in the finals. Media Mogul Jordan versus 96-98 Jordan. This is what is meant to happen. This is how it's supposed to go. Final round. Mike, my friend, creator of bracketology, you were going to kick it off here. Who are you giving the edge to right now?
Well, again, once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but my thing is about, evolution. My thing is about, global impact. So the one thing that we haven't really mentioned in terms of second three-peat Jordan was the fact that he really changed his game. I mean, right? Even with the first three-peat, he was still just this indomitable athletic force. He was just willed himself physically. I'm going to dominate you physically. And it wasn't until maybe the latter part of that first three-peat, and then definitely with the second three-peat, that he kind of refined his game skill-wise. We have to remember that now, I mean, to me, and again, I don't know if this is a deep dive in terms of like basketball nerdism, but you can't tell me that there is a more iconic shot than Jordan's, fadeaway turnaround. I mean, maybe the skyhook, maybe George Gervin's, finger roll, but that turnaround fadeaway is so iconic, and that is a skill shot that he honed in, and that literally became, an unstoppable shot. And as Adam knows, who was also a Kobe fan, like that was a shot that Kobe emulated from Jordan's repertoire. So again, this constant evolution that Jordan has always done, and then redefined again and again, both on the court and off the court. So that second three-peat, everything we talked about, just it's the last one. It's the last thing. It's the last, as a Chicago fan, it's the last time that the Bulls have won a championship. It's the last time that we saw Michael in a Bulls uniform. It's, it's everything that The Last Dance was based off, which has become such a pop cultural significant docuseries. So, that second three-peat is, I mean, I think that encapsulates everything there is to be said about Michael Jordan, both on the court, off the court, and mentally.
And of course, counterpunch, right, for media mogul Jordan, the second greatest shot of his career is with 5 Monstars on him from half court as his arm extends all the way for the dunk, correct? That's the second one? Okay, cool. Adam, hop in.
The second three-peat Jordan is what gives the man 6 finals MVPs. That is such a big number, and we don't think Kobe's got 2, right? I mean, he has 6 finals MVPs. The second three-peat to me is why he's the GOAT, or in the GOAT argument, and why everybody's chasing him forever. That's just such a difficult thing to accomplish, and it was so, especially since he did a three-peat earlier and then had to do it again as an older guy, right? That's just like, yeah, to have. I mean, he set the bar, then leaves and comes back and he's like, oh, I gotta meet the bar that I already did. I mean, it's almost unbelievable that he did it twice, having to completely change his game with all of that pressure, and again, 6 finals MVPs. It's no one's done it. No one's come close, really. I mean, LeBron's the closest with 4. But my goodness, that's just such an amazing stat that to me, that's just epic beyond, that's Brady levels of epicness. That eclipses the media mogul to me. That's where it's bigger than anything.
Abai, you're pretty close to one of these categories here. Which way you lean in on this one? Media mogul Jordan versus second three-peat.
Oh boy. If we're talking about a basketball perspective, I almost think that the first three-peat, to me, it was a better Jordan than the second three-peat. I think the second three-peat was more of a team thing, and I think Pippen, I actually think in The Last Dance, we could have gave Pippen a little more credit to some degree. I remember seeing a shot that was in the last season in the playoffs against the Jazz that we didn't use just because it was getting it finished was so crazy. But there was a moment where they're in the huddle, and a lot of the guys on the team say, oh, it was co-captains, it was Michael and Scotty. And in my mind, I was always like, it was Michael. Like, come on, Scotty was there. But seeing a couple times in the huddle during a timeout, I remember that there's a couple times where Scotty was talking to Michael, like, giving him like, hey man, you should have been over here during this point. Like this is not, what are you doing over here? You should be here. And Michael wasn't like angry. Michael was like, all right, you're right, Scotty. Like that's, yeah, sorry about that. And it was a interesting dynamic to see that, oh, these guys are on the same level in the huddle. That's my takeaway from seeing that footage, so to that point, I think first three-peat Jordan is a more impressive basketball player, and the second three-peat Jordan is a better team. That super team, that first year is like the best Bulls team of all time. So I'm having trouble. I don't know. Medium, I have some problems with media Jordan. I think he has some
names, mustaches. What?
No, there's some criticism for this. That's some of it's over too much. Some of it is he deserves it for social issues. All those kind of things. So, and he's getting better at it. But anyways, I don't know. I'm just going back and forth in my head. I don't have an answer yet. I'm still
real quick. Wait. He's got inside information. This is bullshit. He's seen stuff we haven't seen. He's got a whole conversation with Scotty and Jordan that we never saw. That's bullshit, man. That's not fair.
There's a couple things that I have on a hard drive that I will never show.
Wow, that is awesome.
Unless they're sitting right here at my computer,
that is amazing.
Come on, man. Amazing. You just won game 2. You're feeling good.
I'll sign an NDA. You can handcuff me and tie me up and just let me see it.
Well, the thing to.
Mike,
go ahead, I'll buy. Sorry.
Bye.
I would say that the one thing that when I watched it, I was like, I wish we could have squeezed that in, was seeing Pippen interact with Jordan and the other guys, especially later in that second three-peat, where I was like, damn, Pippen he's an equal to Jordan in the locker room.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, to Abai's point earlier, like none of this is possible, whether it's retirement Jordan, whether it's media mogul Jordan, whether it's any of these off the court endeavors, without the first three-peat, in this case, without the second three-peat, right? Like literally, we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast because there probably would theoretically not be a Last Dance docuseries without the second three-peat. There would not be Meeting Michael without that second three-peat, Jordan. I mean, there probably would have been a Meeting Michael because he would have still been playing without the championship at the time that you saw the game. But in essence, those things only happen because of the second three-peat. And
I was going to say the second three-peat is the cementing of all of it, because a lot of people had three, right? Yeah. Like, but six. I mean, it was just so overwhelming. He just said, "I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best." And he just never. It's stunning when you think about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna unload the clip here on second three-peat Jordan here. All right, 203 to 43. That's his record in those 3 years. 203 wins, 43 losses. All right, find a different era where there's anything else. And I'll go back to The Last Dance. My favorite part of The Last Dance, honestly, is that moment when he loses to the Magic in 95. Because as a kid, again, I've talked all about, Jordan fulfilling this destiny, being the hero, literally, torn out of real life and into the fantasy land of he can never do anything wrong. And this is the first time that he fails. And little Joey is in bed crying his eyes out that night thinking we're never going to win again. The era's over. Jordan isn't Jordan anymore.
Now you know how I felt for a fucking decade.
You wish Patrick Ewing was doing? You wish Patrick Ewing was going to his trainer, Tim Grover, going, "No, man, I'm going to see you tomorrow morning. We're going to the gym, and we're going to work this thing out, and I'm going to come back." And then the 96 season, when they win 72 games, they get Rodman and stuff, is literally like the montage in Braveheart when he starts going around just collecting heads, right? I mean, it's the montage when in the baseball movies when the team's playing good again. I mean, it literally is a reckoning across the NBA. Like, that dude that season scores 30 or more points in 48 games, which is like a top 5, whatever, like in his career for Jordan. Now, granted, the 96 finals, Jordan does not have a good year. But what happens after that is you have him come back. He dunks on Mutombo the season when he does the no, shake, shake, shake. Jordan doesn't really dunk anymore. What's he do in the first round? Dunks right on Mutombo. And then comes back. And in that 98 finals, I'm just looking at it right now, 14 games out of 21 played in the playoffs, he scores 30 or more points in the 98 playoffs. His last year, I mean, the dude is still at the top of his game and has one of the best playoff runs of his career in his final season. And again, all the points you guys have already mentioned, cementing the moment, the shot, the holding of the arm at the very end. I mean, everything in that moment just builds towards it. And it's almost like recreating the media mogul that had already existed for so many years. I mean, it's such an interesting, and I agree with you, Abai. He's not the best in his career. He's not at the peak of his powers. He's not playing his best basketball, and yet he's still doing it in such a high level and in such an amazing, iconic legacy type way. The flu game. We haven't even mentioned the flu game. That happens in that era too as well. It's just really incredible. I'm a second three-peat guy. I kind of walked into it thinking second three-peat. I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we're in the finals. Media mogul super huge for me, but man, that second three-peat, dude. I'm riding my bike around, in the middle of the night, fireworks are going off in my neighborhood. I mean, it was just such a special time to grow up and be a sports fan.
I think media mogul would have shifted if he had had one three-peat, went to baseball, and never came back. I think that would have gone like this, right? It would have been, remember that in the early 90s when that second three-peat turned him into a god. It's just so much. And, 25 years later, we're still going, nothing's coming close. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. 6 finals MVPs. I feel like no one's going to touch that for 50 years.
Yeah, not to be glib, but, Space Jam doesn't have the effect or whatever. The popularity that it has, the reason why they're making a sequel right now is because of that, the fact that Jordan kind of came back. And maybe to, we're going to put our vote in a second, but sort of putting a button on it is, dude, I'm right there with you, man. We're like, I hated LeBron when he played against the Bulls. You know what I mean? it's that love-hate thing. But I root for legends. I root for greatness all the time. If Tom Brady makes a Super Bowl, guys, I'm cool with it. Let's see if he can do it right. I'm always out there trying to, as objectively as I can, try and find someone that gives me the whiff of Jordan. I'm not the guy that's just like, he'll never be whatever, like Kobe. I can have that conversation with people in LA if I want to. I feel like Jordan is better, but I want to have people try and reach for those heights. I want someone to set that bar and have someone try and go for it. And the thing that makes sports so amazing to watch now is I'm still trying to see, like, ooh, I caught a little bit of Jordan there. So we got a little bit of this Jordan in that moment.
And I'm always trying to be objective about it as well, especially with LeBron. And that I remember when Jordan got pressure on the gambling stuff, in 93, he quit.
It's true.
And, nobody has the microscope and the shit that LeBron gets. Nobody. I mean, it is so unending, the hate. It's so crazy. And he just deals with it, and he keeps going. And that's my respect for LeBron. No one's going to be Jordan, dude. I don't mind. I mean, Kobe was obviously the closest physical specimen we'll ever. I mean, my goodness.
You tried to talk like him for a while.
Oh my God! You blink your eyes, I mean, even after he makes a game-winning shot, he's got. I mean, he's doing the best Jordan impersonation anybody's ever done. But I do think we have to remember Jordan didn't have some of the pressures that they have now. I mean, it's a crazy different world, man. But I think we all have our choices now. Maybe not a buy, but I got my choice.
Yeah, I think this is a formality, Joey, but I think we should proceed to the voting. What do you say?
I'm going second three-peat. Mike, what do you got?
It's the second three-peat. And let's be honest, this only benefits Michael Jordan wins the end, right? Because as we know of Michael Jordan, media mogul Jordan will only use this as motivation to become a bigger media mogul, and he'll probably be president in 5 years, right?
Oh, so, I'm very certain. I'm certain Jordan's watching this podcast going, what am I going to do next?
Exactly. Right. So this is only motivation for media mogul Jordan.
Bob, where are you at, second three-peat or media mogul Jordan?
For the win, I'm going with Space Jam Jordan. I'm coming out of left field. No, I'll go second three-peat. Yeah, for all the reasons we've talked about. Jordan said it was the hardest one for him to win, and there's no media mogul without the basketball.
Yeah, and it brought on the Last Dance series, the Emmy-nominated series for its editing as well. Adam, wrap us up, man. Are you going second three-peat?
4-0, yes, second three-peat for sure. And again, let's also remember, we weren't sure he was coming back. I mean, he was done. When he was playing baseball, we were really like, man, is that really how this is going to end? Goddamn. That's really surprising. Like, when he said, I'm back, it was news. Like, it was the second chance to appreciate what we didn't appreciate as much as we should have the first time. It was special.
Yeah, and fun little side story. My aunt in the 90s dated Ron Schuler, the general manager of the White Sox, all through the 90s. And so I got a bunch of stories, all this other stuff. And he got me a Jordan signed baseball, which is really cool. But I tell you, man, did I run the tires bald on asking him almost every single day, not how is Mike hitting, but is Mike good? Is he tired of it? Is he
done? Is he done with this?
I mean, I like the stolen bases and stuff. He's driving and runs. Are we good? Are we good on this? And you're right, man. It was such an interesting time. And again, almost like a movie. I remember the day that I'm back. I remember the day that he retired as much as I remember the day that he did the I'm back.
I remember where I was in my car on the driveway when the sports babe said it, and I slammed the top of my. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. Him coming back was one of the biggest memories of my life.
I was playing baseball in the backyard, came in the garage. My mom popped out like we won the lottery, and she was like, "You won't believe it." And I shot through the roof, man. Never forget. Full sweep, man. You guys, Mike, final thoughts before we get our final thoughts from the panel, man. This was super fun. We're at 2 hours. Guys, so grateful for your time. Again,
we could have
do this all day, so I did the best I could. I promise.
Yeah,
I know it's not long. I did the best I could.
We could have done our own 10-part, 1-hour pod series like The Last Stand. So again, I think we've said it all. I want to thank Adam for being on. I want to thank Abai for being on. You guys were amazing, and both your insights from your personal projects pertaining to Michael Jordan were amazing to listen to. The stories would have been great. Like Joey said, we could have probably listened to you guys for another 2 hours plus. But thanks again, and this was a lot of fun going down memory lane yet again on the life and legacy of Michael Jordan.
This is the dorkiest thing I've ever done. This is up there, man. I mean, we just had a 2-hour conversation about what version of a human we like the most. I mean, dude, only Jordan, dog.
It feels so good. Bye, man. Final thoughts, man. Great perspectives. Obviously, you brought your work alone, obviously coming in gives us also a great context for everything. And you're also a great sport too, as well, because we've hammered it so many times, man. But I mean, it was a different tale for you in the 90s. But
yeah, I hope you guys realize how lucky you were and you appreciate what you had there for so long. I feel like Chicago could not win anything for the next 50 years, and you should still be happy just because that was so incredible. And
how about this? We're all rooting for you against the Hawks.
That's
right now.
Bills and Tibbs, baby.
Yeah.
Tibbs and Taj, give it to me all day long. I'm super into it, and trust me, man, you don't have to worry about it. The Bulls haven't won shit since Jordan left. No one will talk about it as a curse, but we're kind of sort of getting into that territory. So
you guys should still be riding high on Jordan, so I don't feel bad for you.
Yeah, no, we're spoiled for life. You guys, thank you so much for coming on. This was Believe in Betting Chicago with Joey Christopoulos presenting another edition of Bracketology Tournament Edition with our creator and hoops honcho, Mike Choi. Thank you so much for listening to this pod. Today's episode is brought to you by betonline.ag. Make sure you go to that website. You get a 50% bonus on your first deposit. That's kind of nice, and it's free to sign up. Thank you so much for listening to this pod. We got plenty more coming. Until then, be well, be safe. Please be good to each other. We will talk soon.
The recording has stopped.
Is everybody here in Los Angeles, or is Abai somewhere else?
I'm in New York.
Okay. I have a mini golf. I have a bar and a mini golf course and a time machine in my backyard. Why aren't the three of us at least hanging out? Or Abai, if you want to get on an airplane, come on, dude. I had no idea you were. I thought you almost were. That's amazing.
No, I'll take you up on that. Actually, can you tell us a little bit about so Abai in his documentary, and I don't know much about it other than noticing that, like, when you were out in your yard, you had a Back to the Future DeLorean in your backyard. I'm like, what is it? And that's when I Googled your IMDb, and then I saw that you did the other documentaries. But yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
I've worn a million hats, and it's really funny to just kind of sprinkle something in and have everybody go like, is he fucking playing basketball in front of the Back to the Future DeLorean? Well, that doesn't make any sense. I made a mini golf course in my backyard when my when my wife was about to have a baby. For some fucking reason, I thought that would be a good idea. And then I themed it with 1980s movies, and it led to me eventually buying my own DeLorean time machine to rent. And now my only source of income real source of income is rentthedelorean.com. And that's what I do. I just rent out the DeLorean. And then
I know there are probably several, but it's actually...
Oh, no. It's a replica. It's a replica.
Okay.
To look like it. I mean, the original one, almost all of them were destroyed. Then the A car that they redid doesn't have a motor. It just sits in a museum, that kind of stuff. So mine actually runs, and I do gigs. I do events with it. And then...
Did you do the work to make it look like...
Well, it blows up at the end of the first movie. Fastest DeLorean, and I did have to rebuild it, but I initially got it built and then had to keep building, and it's a never-ending process. But then I decided to put a new engine in the car and drag race it to get the record of the fastest DeLorean in the world. And so there's a documentary called Fastest DeLorean, and then because it ends with an explosion, there's a second one to explain how I rebuilt it, whatever. And that has been, for at least the past 5 or 6 years, all anybody knows about me, even though I did a million things in LA. So it was so nice to sit here and talk about a different brain, and not have anybody ask about, have you met Christopher Lloyd? Have you? It's like, yes. I'm friends with Don Fullilove, who is the Mayor Goldie Wilson. The mayor! And he's truly like one of my best friends. Like, we hang out all the time.
That's great.
So
that's great.
It's become this weird tandem of everybody knows him, even though it's like a week of work he did 35 years ago, right? And then I do all this shit, and they're like, but you know Mayor Goldie Wilson. I'm like, oh my God. So, but yes, I do have a bar, mini golf course, and all that in my backyard, and like we totally have to have a drinks and mini golf night. Oh my God.
Yeah, we'll take you up on that offer for sure.
Shit. And you're totally
100%.
And Abai, oh my God, I wish you lived closer. I have a million things I want to ask you. Holy shit, dude. You edited The Last Dance. What?
Well, speaking to that, Abai, how often do you get out to LA to come visit like Dylan and all these guys? Because yeah, next time you're out here, we should all get together, man.
Yeah, next time let's do the Taj Gibson podcast. I want to be a part of that one.
Hey, he broke the heat streak. He broke the heat streak, man. Never forget when he dunked. Oh,
he's been great for us, so I'm loving Taj Gibson. But yeah, next time I'm in LA, definitely let's meet up.
Yeah. We'll get Dylan. We'll get Travis together. We'll get all the guys together. We'll make it a big
they'll take us out in a Tesla.
Yeah, a post-COVID thing. But yeah, I mean, guys, we've taken already way longer of your time than we expected. So again, thank you so much for agreeing to participate. And we're kind of a growing thing. Joey's actually been doing specifically a Sports Chicago podcast, and we've only just recently started the bracketology theme, which actually we're not trying to do sports stuff, but it just made sense to do a Michael Jordan one this time around. So yeah, appreciate it. And again, we'll probably, Joey, what do you think? Like next week or the week after, we'll actually release it, but we'll let you know when.
Yeah, we're obviously the holiday weekend's coming up, so we're not gonna butt it up against this one. Honestly, like I was so excited for this one, and it completely like met my expectations. So like, I thank you all like so very, very much. I'm super excited about promoting this one and releasing it. So we're gonna try and find a time. Maybe next week. If not, I would say definitely the week after, like that Monday. Maybe give it a full week and stuff like that, because these have been tracking pretty well, and this one is easily my favorite. So I mean, we're gonna.
And by the way, to have a Knicks fan is just the greatest stroke of balance.
No, it was perfect. It was actually perfect, because that way it wasn't 4 Michael Jordan homers. It was actually I couldn't have asked for a better thing to have actually somebody like vehemently opposed to like the Bulls runs when they were obviously making the runs at the championship.
I love it.
I basically just picked my least favorite Jordans. Like my favorite Jordan is Wizards Jordan, because so like yes, but yeah. It was fun doing it, guys. I'm thank you for inviting me.
No, yeah. So we'll let you go. We'll get out of your hair, but yeah, again, our deepest thanks. So
yeah, I'm happy to be here. Yeah, next time we're together, I'll show you guys those clips that I got in the vault.
Okay. Yes. We're gonna hold you to it. We're gonna hold you to it.
Love to stay in touch, man. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, guys. All right, thank you.